answer is to look specifically at what we've been dealing with so far under this Trump administration, and how the ICE raids that have occurred has exposed some of the fractures between the black and brown community. Which, to be honest and to be transparent, they've been there. But I think there has been a misconception, a misnomer as far as like where those loyalties lie, who had whose back. I know the black community feels like that the Latino and Hispanic community let them down when it came to this past election. So there's a little bit of trepidation on that side. But then there's more Hispanic and Latino people that feel like black people should be out protesting and help supporting what's happening to them in their community because of this Trump administration. So there's some disparity, or there's a disparagement between the two, and we need to talk about it. That's the intersectional discourse. Because surprise, surprise, we're not each other's enemies. Anywho, we also want to continue our conversation around medical and educational racism. I legitimately want to dig more into the educational racism because I feel like we have not talked enough about the necessity, the fact that black people had a necessity to create HBCUs, and how that actually not only gave us a pathway to higher education, but even still, at multiple turns, has been something that has been attacked to keep black people from attaining higher education. Hello, hello, hello. Guys, keep tapping the screen. Again, as soon as we get up to 8,000 likes, we will open up the panel. So I need you guys to do the wonderful things. Tap the screen, share the live. Let's get the likes up to 8,000 likes. As soon as we get the likes up to 8,000 likes, I'll open up the panel. I'm going to keep resetting this daily gift goal to these little 1-cent goals. It's the pink heart puffs. Now, I think we only need one more. As soon as we close that out, I'm going to switch to another 1-cent goal, and we'll keep going. As soon as we get up to 8,000 likes, again, I will open up the panel. And again, the conversation, we're talking about what the conversation is going to be. And the conversation is without a doubt, dealing with racism and anti-blackness. With that being said, there are a couple other things that we have to actually talk about, right? There we go. We have to talk about environmental apartheid. And some people may say, what is environmental apartheid? Specifically how not only black communities, but communities of color tend to be targeted. You see a lot of those communities of color who have to deal with certain environmental pollution, whether it's the community in Memphis or outside of Memphis that is dealing with the supercomputer that was built and the pollution and the fallout from said pollution. Or you can talk about Flint, Michigan, which is a very well-known one, and how Flint, Michigan dealt with water issues. You can even talk about indigenous people, where there's been multiple bouts of them having to fight to keep their land safe from pollution. One that we often talk about is the Keystone XL pipeline. And I know there's an instance where a lot of, quote unquote Trump supporters come out and they say, well, the Keystone XL pipeline, gas, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? But I think the conversation is not had enough as far as why, right? We understand that the Supreme Court shut it down because of the pollution to those lands, but I don't think we talk enough about why specifically certain people think that it's more important to have access to that pipeline versus for the indigenous people to have clean air, clean water, all of those things. So that's environmental. I don't want to get into that. And last but not least, I want to talk about racial disparity, racial disparities. And I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. I want to talk about 1350. I want to talk about 1350. Because 1350 is such a talking point. 1350 is something that we know a lot of people harp on, and they try to use it as justification. They try to use it as justification and say, well, you know, black people, they're committing all the black on black crime. They're the problem. As you can see, these FBI statistics say that they're the problem. But we don't talk about over-policing. We don't talk about exoneration rates. We don't talk about the disparities within the justice system where black people, for the same crime as white people, get sentenced to more time. So when we talk about 1350, let's not just talk about that one little data point. Let's talk about it all. Anyway, keep tapping the screen, guys. Let's knock out these chili peppers. I'm going to go ahead and start bringing people in. And as you join the panel, please mute yourself. As we get you in on the panel, please mute yourself. And I will go through some introductions. And we will get it started here in just a moment, guys. Keep tapping the screen. Let's go ahead and get the likes up to 25,000 likes. Let's get the shares up if you don't mind. We only got 12 shares, guys. If everybody can share it two times. We don't want to spam share, but let's share it 2 times. And that will boost the live. That'll help push us out to the FYP. Hey, Kristen. We will go ahead and get started here. I'm going to do introductions, and then we'll go ahead and get started. If you are interested in actually joining the conversation, please go ahead and request up. Also, send your daily heart. It's only 1 coin. It helps boost the live and helps push us out to the FYP. With that being said, we're going to start with... you have bars. I don't even know if you can hear me. Is it pronounced Eureka Guru? I'm sorry. How do I say your username, friend? Something Guru. I don't think she realized she's up here. All right. I'm going to drop her down. Omega, how are you?
Oh, shit. I'm up here. Oh hey, bro. I was tapping. Sorry.
Oh, but you didn't mean to come up.
Not right now. I was waiting for the but I can talk to you.
Well,
I mean, I
mean, if you want to, you can. I'll drop you down. You can come back up.
Yeah, I was gonna come back. I was gonna come up when the conversation got started.
Yeah. We'll bring you back up.
All right, bro.
Guys, if you're interested in joining the conversation, the boxes are open. We are ready to roll. I'm gonna keep resetting these 1 cent gift goals. And if we can keep knocking this out, this will help push us out to the FYP. Something that I want to make sure that we really dig into tonight as well, because I feel like there's a misnomer. And I know specifically there's a misnomer when it comes to certain white people in their belief that not all white people are racist. And I think that strikes a nerve with a lot of people when you use the word all. And I think it strikes a nerve when you use the word all, because that means that there's no way that I fall in that category. There's no way that I can actually be deemed as racist, because I am special. I am different. I am not like everyone else. But I think there's a lot to unpack with that. And I'm hoping that we can have that conversation, because I think there's a misconception as well as far as racism with a lot of white people, right? There's a lot of white people that believe that racism means hate. There's a lot of white people that believe racism means hate. And that's not what we're saying. It's a factor. It's definitely a factor, but that's not what we're talking about. I also want to talk about anti-Blackness because I think there isn't enough conversation within the Black community about anti-Blackness. And more so specifically, I know that last night we kind of got into it, but I'm hoping we can get back into it with any Black people that are either not in the United States or are immigrants to the United States, because I think there's a level of anti-Blackness that they deal with as well, coming into the U.S. and then happening to actually be a part of Black culture within America. And they're not always being a level of acceptance within the United States. But then how does anti-Blackness present itself outside of the US? That's the thing. So we're going to go ahead and get started here with the conversation. Again, if you are interested in actually joining the conversation, go ahead and request up. If you are interested in joining the conversation, go ahead and request up. With that being said, W's in the chat for Gene. Gene sent a $1 donation to say racist conveniently forget that gentrification is a huge factor on why those Black crime statistics are skewed. Yeah, listen, anytime we talk about those statistics, there is always a need to break down a lot of different factors, and we're going to do it all. We're going to do it all. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with the people that we have on the panel. And again, if you are interested in joining the conversation, go ahead and request up. If you are in the chat, keep doing wonderful things. Keep tapping the screen. Keep sharing the live. The gift goal is the little love you much. If we can knock those out, those 1 cent goals, also send your daily heart me. We're going to start at the top. Jordan, how are you?
I'm good, Santana. How you doing?
Good. Jordan, can you tell the people, what is your race?
I am Black.
Wonderful. And Jordan, what country do you live in?
The United States.
Perfect. Let me go here. Gucci, how are you?
Good, Santana. How are you?
Wonderful. Gucci, tell the people, what is your race?
I'm Black.
And what country do you live in?
Well, I live in the U.S., but I'm originally Nigerian.
Ooh, okay. When did you actually come to the U.S.?
2008.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to get started with this conversation. And just an FYI, the reason why I asked the question, what country you currently live in is because normally with late nights, normally with the conversations, this is a US based conversation, but this conversation this week has been open to any and everyone around the world. So if you're watching right now and you are one of those people who tend to watch and you don't get to join the conversation because it's a US based conversation and you want to get in on this conversation, go ahead and request up. All are welcome. With that being said, for the people on the panel and the people that are your FBA, okay, cool, get in the box. For the people on the panel and those looking to join, please be mindful while we're having these conversations. Please use TikTok friendly language. And what is that? That means using words like pew pew, unalive, mustache man, AB, all of those types of words that not only protect protect your TikTok, but protect the live. Also, guys, please remember that we don't deal with any of this. Is a safe and friendly community. So we don't deal with any of the isms here: racism, sexism, classism. We also don't do any of the phobias: homophobia, transphobia, none of that. We don't play that on the panel nor in the chat. Speaking of the chat, please remember, caps are for mods. So please do not use caps because it will draw my attention away from the panel and to the actual chat. And we want to make sure that we are able to lock in and continue to have these conversations. Last but not least, guys, we do have a nightly donation goal. I think you can see the sticker. Yeah, I think you see it. We have a nightly donation goal. Gene has already kicked us off, so we only have $249 left in our nightly donation goal. So if you enjoy the information, education, entertainment, please consider donating. Everything is accepted. Anything is appreciated. So I'm going to start with Gucci. I want to start with Gucci because Gucci, you live in the United States, but you came to the U.S. from Nigeria, you said in 2008.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, Gucci, what age was that when you came?
I was 16.
16.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Gucci, can you tell me, what was it like for you coming from Nigeria to the U.S. and not only having to adjust as far as, different countries, but switching cultures from where you were to trying to integrate yourself into Black American culture?
It was interesting. I wouldn't say difficult, but it was different. I was 16 when I came straight to college. And so I got to experience a wide variety of people, I guess. But I moved to Texas, East Texas specifically. So I got to, it, it was just, it wasn't easy. Let me say that. It wasn't easy. There wasn't a lot of Nigerians there. So I was forced basically to hang out with African Americans. And it, there was a lot of, I don't know what words I guess to use for this, but I was looked down upon by like a lot of African Americans. I was told I wasn't Black, which was actually very weird for me. Because like both of my parents are Black. I'm like completely Black. And it's taken like
Gucci, let's stay there for half a second.
Okay.
Did they tell you why they said that you weren't Black?
Yes, which I kind of get it, because I've heard this discourse like a lot recently as well, in terms of like Black American culture as opposed to like, African culture and the differences with that. And I was told specifically I wasn't Black, I was African. And I think like the people who said that just, I don't know if they don't see other Black people as not Black. I wouldn't say that. But I think they were trying to say, in my opinion anyway, from what I've learned so far, is they just meant that I wasn't Black American.
Okay. Question, Gucci. Again, I know you were 16 when you came, but if you can, think back for a second. Before you came to the U.S., did you ever hear anyone else telling other, Black people that, hey, you aren't Black?
Back by that.
Okay.
Because the person that told me that was a very close friend who was African American. And again, I don't think he meant it. Oh, at least I would hope he didn't mean it in a derogatory way.
Derogatory? Yeah.
But yes. But I think it was just from his perspective, I wasn't Black American.
Okay. So I want to introduce the new person to the panel. We're going to get to that in just a second, but I want everybody to think about this. So the conversation that Gucci is saying that she experienced in 2008, which was 17 years ago, where her coming from Nigeria to the United States and being specifically told by Black people that she's not Black. That happened 17 years ago. And it's the same conversation that's still happening to certain people today. So I want everybody to sit with that for half a second, because I think that we tend to think that a lot of things that we quote unquote look back on is so far in the past. It's certain things that, oh, that's not happening anymore. People don't do that anymore. People don't say that anymore. When a lot of the same things that we have talked about, it's systematic. It's systemic. It's long lasting, and it has deep roots that continue to manifest itself today. So this is what we're gonna do. Hold on one second. Hey, Julius.200 or whatever, you've been invited up multiple times. Also, like, I don't know what's going on, but you're, being weird in the comments, so I'm gonna mute you. I'm not gonna block you. I'm muting you, and you can come up and join the panel and actually use your voice, or you just won't be able to talk on it. Because, I mean, I've invited you, my mods invited you. You said you're a foundational Black American, which, like, I would think that this conversation would be right up your alley. So you can join the conversation, if you wanted to be productive, or you can leave, friend. Either or. I'm good either way. Shay, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Shay, can you tell the people what is your race?
I am black.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Shay, do you live within the United States? Or I'm sorry, what
Yes,
country do you live in?
I'm in the United States.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Shay, give me 1 second. Jordan, I want to come to you. Jordan, what state were you born in?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Jordan, have you ever lived outside of the US?
No.
Okay. Jordan, so you are a black woman born in the South, lived your entire life within the US. Gucci, born in Nigeria, came to the US at 16. She was told by her black friends that she's not black, she's African. Do you know why they said that?
Yeah, I think because this is conversations that I've had with my friends as well, especially in college because I went to school with a wide range of people across the African diaspora, and so we had conversations about this all the time. And I think part of it has to do with who do we think, like basically like how we define blackness. So I think a lot of people define it. Um, by like what we experienced, and unfortunately a lot of that has to do with like the racism that we experience. And so for and we all know like the United States and the history of chattel slavery that like sets it apart from anywhere else in the world, like at least to my understanding. And so we have this like understanding that the experience of being black and born and raised in America gives a whole different level, a whole different experience than someone who maybe was not born and raised there. Now, I now whether or not I like necessarily ascribe to that is something I kind of
Oh,
ping
I don't want you
pong.
to tell me that yet. I don't.
Okay, okay,
Hold it. Okay, perfect,
okay,
perfect.
I'll hold it.
All right, Shay. So you heard Gucci's experience.
Mm-hmm.
Born in Nigeria, moved to the U.S. at 16. Told by her friends, so she doesn't think that it was malicious, but told by one of her friends, "You're not black. You're African." Jordan just talked about how certain people deem them not to be black because they don't have that shared lived experience, that cultural connection, and so they can't be classified as black. Shay, what do you think? Do you think that people that are not from the US but they have phenotypical characteristics of black people, do you think they're black?
Yeah, they're black.
Tell me why.
The police not gonna ask them. You black. When you get stopped by the police, you're black. Now, I would say that they probably don't experience the same stuff that we do. I would still
Tell me why you
consider
say that.
them because sometimes when they come over here, they're told not to hang with. Now, because we're lazy and we're this, and they get certain entitlements that come up with being an immigrant into this first generation immigrant into this
Where did you
country.
get that from, Shay?
What? Where they get entitlements
No,
of
no,
being
no.
a
What
first?
you're saying, that they're told, don't hang around, don't associate with black people. They're different because they're immigrants and they are,
Some of
they
them
have
even
entitlements.
told from some immigrants that come over here, where they're told don't associate with black people. They're lazy. They're this and they're that. They don't want to do this. However, and they have this stereotype of black people, but then if they do that, they never get to know us. They just stay with that stereotype. And they just think we're lazy because we've been over here this whole time and we're still in poverty, but they came over here and now they have businesses that thrive. They have millions. Understand why we couldn't do the same thing that they did. That's what I've heard. I still consider them Black. They just don't go through the same. Some of them don't go through the same economic struggles that we may face.
So this is where I'm going with this. There are the reason why I think this conversation is super important is because that's anti-Blackness, right? And that's perpetuated by other Black people, and that is talking points of white supremacists.
Right.
And I say all that to say it's something that I've heard as well. And it's never been something that I subscribe to at all because phenotypically speaking, if you are Black, you're Black. And even more than that, to your point, Shay, I mean, and so I use this analogy all the time when talking to white people, right? And I'm hoping that Black people get this even more. And I say to them when I'm talking politics and I'm talking about Donald Trump and when he made the analogy or he kept pushing the narrative that Haitian people were eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio. And I say that was harmful to all Black people. And the reason why it was harmful to all Black people is because most people can't tell the difference between someone from Haiti, from Ethiopia, from Somalia, from Nigeria, from Zambia, from just being Black America. They can't tell the difference between any of us. To them, we're all the same. And since we're all the same, we all fall under that same systematic oppression because we all fall into the same categories depending on where you fall intersectionally within the patriarch. So when I say that they're talking points of white supremacy, I want you to think about this for a second, Shay, because you and I are close to the same age. You remember growing up and we watch TV and different shows or movies or whatever, whenever they depicted like Africa or Africans, what did they actually show on TV or movies?
They were poor in huts, didn't have any clothes. They didn't really know how to talk. They were just, just thinking about Tarzan, a whole ass white man, king of the jungle in front of, leading the jungle full of Black people that's been there all their whole life.
Yeah, yeah. That was something that was perpetuated growing up, in the sense that Africa was poor. Africa was all mud huts and dirt. Africa was a place where, no one had indoor plumbing and everyone wore, bamboo hoops or whatever, right? And so the depiction that was portrayed to Black Americans is that, well, yeah, you might not be great here in the US, but at least you're not in Africa. At least you're not in that situation that they're still dealing with in Africa. And I think that drove the narrative even more for a lot of Black Americans when people like Gucci came to the US. They weren't received as warm as they should have been because there was also another thing that was told to Black people. And Jordan, I want to come to you and I want to know, have you ever heard this one? Jordan, growing up, Jordan, how old are you?
I'm 26.
26. So I don't know if you've heard this, but I know I heard this a lot when I was growing up. Jordan, did you ever hear the narrative that Africans don't like Black Americans?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I've heard that in the sense that, like, kind of like what Shay was saying, that they have the conception of like basically like how they can come to the U.S. and achieve a level of economic prosperity that has been typically out of reach for African Americans. And there's also, at least in my experience, there a lot of the division can also come from the fact that one group of people can very easily trace their ancestry while the other is most likely not able to do so, and so they don't have any like real roots.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a narrative that was pushed within the Black community, that not only in twofolds, in the sense of projecting an image of poverty and disease and disparity within the entire African continent, but also those people don't like you. Those people aren't interested in you. Those people sold you, and they don't want anything to do with you. And again, that is a tool of white supremacy that drove the narrative of anti-Blackness, which a lot of Black people still hold on to today, but they don't understand it, and they also don't understand why. And even more so, to Jordan's point, there is a little bit of anger within the Black community, right? So I know from personal experience that, like, I know I can trace my my family history back to a certain point. And I can do like a 23andMe, and I can trace specifically, genetically speaking, where my traits come from, and blah blah blah. Right. So I know that. But I was at my wife's house, and my wife is Ethiopian, and like she was born in Ethiopia, came to the U.S. and she was showing me pictures, and her mother, my mother-in-law, was showing me pictures of like her great grandparents, right? Like, and they could go back generations and generations and generations. Like, they knew exactly where they came from, like specifically what tribe within Ethiopia, and not just on like, the mom side, but on the dad side as well, and like how that actually looked, right? And I felt a sense of sadness knowing that even if I complete like a genetic test, I could never find a picture or know stories about my great 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 grandparents. And I think there's a lot of frustrations in Black Americans, and they hold that, and they project that towards Black people from Africa. Gucci, I want to come to you for a second. When you came to the US, before you started interacting with Black people, did you have any type of overall negative perception towards Black people? Like, what was it, a concept that Black people in the US are different than Black people in Nigeria?
Personally, no. I will say though, I did learn about it pretty much almost immediately after coming here.
Wait, so you learned about that when you got here, not when you were in Nigeria?
Yes.
So tell me about it when you learned about it when you got here.
So I made Black friends almost immediately. And I heard someone directly asked me, they were like, so why do Africans hate Black people?
And it was a Black person that said that, right?
That was a Black person that said that.
Because we've been told that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes. And fair enough. Yes. Like I never heard it, but when I got that question, my immediate response was to be like defensive. But I listened to my family, and I immediately heard it. So like it's a valid concern. Like Africans do have that hate, I guess, or discrimination against African Americans. But it's something that I didn't know prior to coming here.
Yeah.
Because I have seen it personally firsthand.
Yeah.
The way Africans look down on Black Americans.
Sorry, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I think that I think a lot of people again it's really interesting to hear how that actually occurred. More so in the sense of um, more so in the sense of how it was told to Black people from different viewpoints while being done for the same reason. Right? Now, there's one thing that I do want to address really quick because I do see that there is a little bit of I don't know what's happening in the chat right now, but I want to be really, really clear about something. When I say we don't do any of the isms or the phobias, xenophobia is one of those things that we don't do. I want to be very clear about that. So if you're in the chat and you're a Black American and you're exhibiting xenophobia, you will get muted. You will get blocked because we don't do that either. Just to make sure we're clear. Just to make sure we're clear. All right. All right. Let's introduce the two new people on the panel. SJ, how are you?
I was cooking, so apologies on the background noise.
Okay. SJ, can you tell the people what is your race and what country do you live in?
I am a Negro from Jamaica, and I live in the United States.
Okay, perfect. Hold tight for me. Omega, how are you?
Hey, bro. Sorry about that. Was coming by here, man.
No worries. Can you tell the people what is your race and what country do you live in?
I'm Black and I live in the United States.
Okay, perfect. All right, give me a second here. So I think that when we talk about racism, I don't think there's enough conversation that's had about anti-Blackness. And I want to make sure that I make this really clear because there's a lot of anti-Blackness in other communities as well, not just the Black community. I would love to get someone, if there's anyone that is Latino or Hispanic that would like to join the conversation, please join up because I would love for us to have that conversation and really dig into the dynamic of how that looks with the Hispanic or Latino community, how that's manifesting itself today, and even more so, why? Because I think there's a lot to be said about that. Let's see here. Can I call you Willie? I don't.
Yeah, Boricua Willie.
Boricua Willie. See, I didn't want to mess that up. I thought that's what it was. Borica Willie. Willie, what is your race?
So I'm Puerto Rican from New York. Okay.
Puerto Rican from New York. All right. So just to make it official. So do you currently live in the U.S.?
Yeah, I live in Florida. I moved to Florida. Perfect.
All right. So you know what? SJ, Omega, if you don't mind, give me 1 second because Willie requested up specifically when I threw that out, and so I really appreciate him. I want to, if you guys just give me a moment, I want to start with Willie. Willie, can you tell me, as a a Puerto Rican man who from New York lives in Florida, so I feel like you've seen a wide spectrum as far as perspectives. How old are you?
Me, I'm 50.
50. Okay. And I'm sorry, what did you answer? You said you're Puerto Rican. I'm sorry, what's your race?
I'm Puerto Rican.
So you are Latino.
That's not a race. That's an ethnicity. What is your race? What do you put down?
Hold on.
What do I put down?
Yeah, so you're Latino, right?
Yeah. I put down Latino, Hispanic.
Okay. Perfect. I'm sorry. I I was so focused on my thought process, I didn't catch. Thank you for that, guys. So
Go ahead.
I know. What do
So
you think? I know. I'm trying to do a thing, guys. I'm trying to do a thing. Everybody is jumping ahead of me. I know. I'm trying to do a thing.
you see,
I know. I'm trying to
like
do a
the
thing. Chill.
like the Islanders from Puerto Rico.
No, okay. I'll just go ahead and jump ahead because everybody is jumping all over it and they want you to say it. All right. Willie, what do you phenotypically, what do you present as? Do you present as a white person or a black person?
Black.
Okay, so you
Black
present as
Hispanic.
black. Okay,
A
perfect.
black Hispanic.
I was gonna walk down that, and I know I was going too slow. I apologize. That's where we're going.
I'm
All
sorry.
right. No, you're
I
good.
consider
You're
myself a Hispanic black person.
yeah, you're
I,
good.
I
I'm
grew up
sorry.
in the inner city. Okay, when in inner city of New York, you share that culture. You understand?
Right.
The Latinos and the blacks, they share that culture.
Black people. Yeah. So
Yeah.
hold on, Willie. So take a step back for me. Because I have a whole thought process, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to map it
Yeah.
out, but I want you to tell me about this. Willie, what do you know? Because you're black presenting. What do you know about anti-blackness?
Why do I know about anti-blackness?
Yes.
Oh God, I could tell you this. The older generation, like my grandmother, she was anti everything. If you weren't Puerto Rican, if I didn't bring a Puerto Rican home, no good to be home. Don't bring it out.
Did it matter if they were black or white?
It didn't matter.
Okay.
To her, it didn't matter. She was anti any race but Puerto Rican.
Well, again, Puerto Rican isn't a race, but I get what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So she was anti towards that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Right,
Puerto Rico. Go
but
ahead.
specifically, what do you know about anti-blackness?
Anti-blackness.
Mm-hmm.
Like what between Africa and American blacks?
No. Don't worry
All
about
right.
it. We'll hold on. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
Let's
Go
take a step
ahead.
back. You know what? I'm sorry. Let's build the foundation. And I should have did this from the start. Willie, what is race?
Race is the human being, the color of your skin. I would say the white of a person.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that you're right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just want to hear your thoughts now. Okay, cool. So what is racism and what is it based off of?
Racism is based off the color of your skin,
Okay.
and I get a lot of that because of
Okay.
the color of my skin.
Okay, cool. And again, I'm not saying that you're right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just trying to get an understanding of your thought process. Last but not least, Willie, can you give me an example of how you've gotten racism and what you've experienced?
Well, I don't know. Growing up in the inner city of New York, I was racially profiled constantly.
How so?
How so? The police used to pull me over. The police used to stop me on the corner. Police used to stop me from stop and harass me on my steps.
Okay.
Like me going into, say, Macy's or Bergdorf. Right away, I had someone following me.
Okay. All right. Hold tight for just a second. KGR, how are you?
How are you, love?
Good. I know you were chomping at the bit. KGR, well, let's get through the preliminary questions first, and then I'm going to have you clarify a couple of things for me. KGR, what is your race?
Black.
All right. And what country do you live in?
The United States.
Perfect. KGR, what is race?
Race is your phenotype. It is how you present to the world. It is based on skin color, features, and hair texture.
Got it. KGR, what
Mhm.
is racism and what is it based in?
Racism is based on a racial hierarchy created by white supremacy, in which they put Mayo sapiens at the top and everybody else
KGR,
below.
use the right words. They don't know what that
I
is.
said, Caucasians. So it is a racial hierarchy in which those who have lack of melanin are at the top,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone comes down, and then black people are at the bottom.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Perfect.
It's a
Perfect.
systemic form of oppression.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Perfect. Now, KGR, listening to the examples that Willie gave, right? Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that he experienced racism?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell
I
me
do
why?
think, okay, because he presents as black, therefore he's more likely to be viewed in a hostile manner. Because of racism, which is a systemic, it's a system of oppression in order to determine whether or not someone is safe, unsafe, and to remove all of their humanity.
Got it. Got it.
Anti-blackness is why
Hold
he
on. Don't go there.
dealt with it.
Don't go there yet. Don't go there.
Oh,
All
I'm
right.
sorry. I'm sorry.
So, KGR, he mentioned, because I brought up anti-blackness, and he mentioned that his grandmother didn't like anyone that wasn't Puerto Rican, no matter if they were, it didn't matter if they were black presenting or white presenting. It only mattered if they were Puerto Rican. So, KGR, was that anti-blackness?
It was anti-blackness.
Hmm.
Because even though he states that she didn't care as long as they were Puerto Rican, we have to be honest. What is presented as Puerto Rican is not black.
I don't know. I'm going to push
And we
back on you
also
just a
have
little
to
bit,
acknowledge
KGR.
that being anti-black. Mm-hmm.
Listen, let me
Go right
push back
ahead.
on you just for a half a second. So, if Willie is black presenting and he brings a black presenting
Mm-hmm.
Puerto Rican woman in, then the grandmother would be accepting. But,
Doubtful.
well, this is what he's saying. We have to go off his word, right? So we're talking about specifically this situation. But
Okay.
if he would have brought a white woman or a black woman or a Asian or woman, like any other, non Puerto Rican, then it would have been an issue. So what are your thoughts with that?
I would counter this with what I know from Puerto Ricans that I know. And from
No, not yet. You got to stop getting ahead of me. Stay with this situation.
I'm
Because
sorry,
I'm talking
sorry.
specific to Willie.
Okay. So I think Willie needs to acknowledge that honestly, if he'd brought home a dark skinned, not a fair skinned, black presenting Puerto Rican, it would have been a problem. Because again, we're talking about blanqueamiento. Tell me if I'm incorrect, but it's improving the race, correct? And so when you're talking about improving the race in quotation marks, it's always focused on whitening said skin and Eurocentric, like making their children look more Eurocentric as opposed to Negro, even though Puerto Rico wouldn't exist if it weren't for Negroes.
Okay.
But that's just how I look at it. Every Puerto Rican I've dealt with when I went to Puerto Rico, like went to our honeymoon there and everything like that, they talked to me in Spanish. They were quite disrespectful to my husband, who's darker skinned, even though there were plenty of Puerto Ricans who looked just like my husband.
Okay.
But they spoke to me as though I was a typical Hispanic Puerto Rican woman, even though I'm just a straight up Black American woman and my Spanish is pretty shit.
Right.
So I would be straight in telling you you, my guy, you know darn well if you brought home a dark-skinned Puerto Rican, dark-skinned, like an actually black-presenting woman, your grandmother would be okay with that.
Okay, so
And
let's
that
do this. Let's do this because I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Technically, I agree, but I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I want to. The reason why I'm getting to that, I don't think necessarily that that's anti-blackness. If what he's saying is true, I think that's xenophobia. If all factors that he's given is true, now we do understand that there's much more to that, but taking everything on face level, I just want to make sure that there's an understanding that there's a difference overall. But we're going to flesh out this conversation even more. But before we do, Mello, how are you?
What's going on, man?
Mello, can you tell the people what is your race?
I am Black African American.
And what country do you live in?
America.
Okay. Perfect. All right, give me 1 second. We're going to keep it going. We are going to keep things moving. Let me just say this real quick. Guys, 1 second. W's in the chat for Angel. Angel sent $1 donation saying, all the love. You're my hero. Thank you for inspiring me. Angel, you are absolutely way too kind. I mean, like far too kind. But W's in the chat for Angel. She sent $1 donation. Guys, we still have $248 left in our nightly donation goal. So Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24 is the best way to support the live. If you enjoy the information, education, entertainment, please consider donating. Everything is accepted. Anything is appreciated. And if you're over on YouTube, what up, YouTube? What up, Twitch? If you're over on YouTube, one, make sure you're hitting the like button. Like the stream. It will help push the stream out more. So make sure you're liking the stream. But also, if you want to support over on YouTube, you can do so with a YouTube super chat. And I will read that message out. Guys, let's keep tapping the screen. Let's go ahead and get the likes up to 50,000 likes. The likes are moving kind of slow. And you know what? I got sub only. I can turn the comments off. I will turn the comments off. So tap the screen. Let's do all the wonderful things. So let's get into this a little bit more. So let's start to actually now build that out. So Willie, you heard what KGR said.
Yes.
And you heard what I said. Now, what I said was at a surface level. Now, KGR gave way more context and built a very strong case. So I would love to hear you actually respond to KGR in the sense of your grandmother exhibiting anti-blackness because of the actual culture within Puerto Rico.
Okay, so what I agree with, I basically agree with her because the Taino Indian culture is native to this continent, okay, to the Caribbean, to the Americas, okay. So we have like 12% Taino Indian left in that island. Christopher Columbus and them, they settled in Puerto Rico first. So we have 45% of Northern African American, Canary Islands, North Africa, okay? 25% Spaniard, and then the rest is Taino Indian. So, indigenous, sorry. Mm-hmm. So basically, I agree with her 100%. So when it comes to the melatonin in your skin, the lighter, of course, to the shade of the original indigenous is really what they really want. All right. Mm-hmm. And even if you're lighter, even lighter skinned, like my son's very fair skinned, you know, and he looks whitey. If you would meet my son, you would be like, oh my God, he doesn't look Puerto Rican at all. You know, I have 2 kids that look very whitey, and I have 2 that you could tell, hey, you could tell they're mixed. You could tell they have,
Multiracial.
yeah, interracial.
Is your wife white?
My wife is fair-skinned Dominican.
So she's white.
Uh,
We
Yeah,
call her
yeah.
a quadroon, Santana. She's a quadroon
What
Yeah.
is that?
or an octoroon.
She's
I'm confused. I don't know what that is either.
oh, okay.
One where they're a fourth black. Octoroon is an eighth black, which means that's a great great grandparent. Quadroons, that's a great grandparent.
Okay. But Willie, she could pass as a white woman.
You can tell she's Hispanic. It's some sort of Hispanic, Cuban, or
But is she white present? I think KGR. What is race?
Type. What he's talking about is that she presents partially indigenous.
yeah.
Got it. That's what I was missing. Okay. Got
Yes.
it. Okay. All right. And so your kids, what do they present as?
They present themselves
Phenotypically speaking.
American. They present this. I'm sorry. How can I say?
Do they present as indigenous as well?
Yes,
Or
they
do
do.
they present as white?
They present themselves as Hispanics. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know how to say.
Do
Got it.
your kids look indigenous, black, or whitey? Which one?
Okay. Well, to look indigenous, I would say black, and two would it look indigenous white.
That's not how it works.
I'm trying to comprehend you.
Two of your kids look mestizo, and two of your kids look Afro-indigenous. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Santana. Okay, so it's a difference. It's the J-Lo versus Rosie Perez.
Yes. Yeah, I can put it like that.
Got it. Okay. I think I got it. All right. Let me just say this real quick and then kind of reset from there. W's in the chat for Andrea. Andrea sent a $2 donation towards the nightly donation goal, saying much love. Thank you so much for that, Andrea. You are absolutely amazing. I think I updated it, right? Did I update it? I don't think I updated. Or I don't know what. Hold on. There we go. It's updated. So yeah, $246 away from closing out goal. So, Willie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've lost my entire train of thought with trying to keep up with that. I'm not even gonna lie.
All right,
Willie,
wait, I got.
let's go back to the original point. I'm sorry. Let's go back to the original point.
Go ahead.
The original point.
Go ahead.
Do you dispute that your grandmother partook in anti-blackness?
Yes.
Oh, tell me why.
Because if you were dark-skinned Puerto Rican, she still wouldn't want you to date me.
Well, that's anti-blackness.
Yeah, that's why I said yes.
Anti-blackness.
Yes.
Anti-blackness. She wanted her grandkids to be fair-skinned. Therefore, she did not want blackness in her family. So that is her participating in anti-blackness.
Yes, I did say yes.
Did he say no or did he say? I thought he said no.
No, I said yes.
I thought he said no.
You did say no.
I said yes.
Hold on, I'm gonna run the tape back because either I'm going,
YES. Yes.
You said that your grandmother would be angry if you dated a dark-skinned Puerto Rican.
Yes, you would.
So your
She would be
grandmother
highly
participated
upset.
I'm all over the place. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, she would highly be upset.
Okay.
because she doesn't like black people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so your
All right.
grandmother's anti-black.
That's what we were saying.
That's what I said.
I could have sworn he said no, but he's saying he said yes. All right, so just to level set all again, because I guess I misheard.
Oh, but also
I guess I misheard.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But if you were very fair skinned and whitey looking, she would be anti that also. She would want some type of color, like melatonin in you, but
melanin, not
melanin, but not black, but not whitey. Like she want you in between. Yes.
Yeah. So she was definitely anti-black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. For
what
sure.
did she present as?
Which one? Black historian.
She presented herself as a very Taino, old school, indigenous to the island. I'm telling you.
She presented as indigenous.
Yes.
Okay. That was a lot. Give me a second, Willie.
Sure.
Give me a second. SJ, I want to come to you.
That's good.
SJ, anti-blackness.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking as a man that came from Jamaica to the U.S., and I know we've kind of touched on anti-blackness within the U.S., but I want to speak specifically or find out, is that something that you experienced before you got here while you were still in Jamaica?
Anti-blackness?
Anti-blackness, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Tell me about it.
I mean, there's many dimensions to it. I think economically, educationally speaking, interpersonal relationships, the darker you were, the less opportunities you had. I believe that's referred to as colorism, in the sense that the closer you are to being lighter,
you're kind of breaking up.
Sorry, hold on, let me go inside. The closer you are to being lighter skinned, the more opportunities you had, or the more favorable you were.
Mm-hmm.
And there were negative side effects to that, and this is not gender specific, but people would bleach their skin because they wanted to rid themselves of that dark appearance, because many times it was connected to traumatic experiences or missed opportunities or whatever. So it was artificially trying to gain proximity to whiteness that would potentially give them opportunities. I don't know that actually happened, but I would see people bleach their skin and walk around, they always looked a little bit off, so it's not like you couldn't tell. But it always did make me sad.
So I don't want to necessarily get into this because I know this will take us to like a whole different thing, but I do think there is that there's an interesting conversation to have about colorism within different cultures, right? Because you're speaking specifically from Jamaican culture. Willie, I know you kind of mentioned it, but there's also an instance of colorism within, the Hispanic and Latino culture, and there's also that prevalence with Black people as well. And so I think that's an interesting topic, and the whole like bleaching of your skin to try to, present more fair-skinned or white. That's a whole thing. SJ, when you moved from Jamaica to the U.S., can you recall any specific bouts of anti-Blackness that you had to deal with because you were not Black American? SJ, are you there? I think we lost SJ.
Or no?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I had to mute and unmute. I was gonna say, that's not something maybe I experienced it, but I wasn't aware of it so much till more recently, actually.
Tell me
in
about
the
your more
conversation
recent
about
experience.
More so on this app, I think, just for a little bit more context and background. So I live in Utah, so it's not like I'm embedded in the majority of, or where the majority of Black people in the United States are located, typically in the South, in the East and West Coast. And so I think that limited my interaction somewhat, right, based on where I live. And so online, it's been the case that if people hear that I'm talking differently, oh, you can't really participate in this conversation, despite the fact I've lived here for 20 plus years and I've experienced enough, I think, of the negative sides of American culture to at least be able to speak to aspects of the Black experience. So that's not to say I know to the extent that y'all know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's almost this resistance to allow people like myself to participate in any sort of conversation about issues, because there's no way you can understand when the experiences I've had. It's not like white people are looking at me and going, oh, are you one of the good ones? Are you like a Black American, or are you from somewhere else? They don't care. So it's been somewhat isolating, in the sense that, like, yeah, I've had to make conscious choices about, okay, am I going to participate in this conversation? Because I know if they see a flag in my profile that I might get dismissed. So I actually did pull that. I had a little emoji, Jamaica. That's not to say I'm not proud of Jamaica. I just knew that, hey, this is going to be an issue. And so I just made that choice. So again, it's like, well, you should be proud of where you're from. Yes, I am. I also recognize that people seeing that makes them assume certain things.
Okay, give me a second. Omega, coming to you. What do you think about that lived experience that not only that SJ has, but it's similar to the story that Gucci gave, in the sense that Black people from other countries, whether it be Jamaica or Nigeria, have a shared lived experience when they enter the U.S. and they enter Black culture, that they're not necessarily welcome and they're told that they're other instead of being embraced. What do you think about that?
I think it is true to an extent, because, like, I mean, from what I've seen, that you have some Black people that are don't integrate themselves with the Black community, so they don't understand our shared experience, or they don't even try to make allowances to understand it. But, like, for I've worked with my brother part-time on some of his side hustles. He's like a journeyman, and he does everything. And he has a lot of, like, Nigerian clientele. And I've seen from the outside that the single Nigerians that come over here, they are more, they have a tendency to be more anti-Black than the ones that come over here as couples. And don't ask me why. It's just that that they are more likely to try to assimilate within the white culture, and the single ones, than the ones that come over here that are already coupled up with like a male and female Nigerian or something like that. I guess it's because they I don't know, understand what it's like to be a Black couple compared to somebody that's coming over here, doesn't understand our culture by themselves and are trying to assimilate to white. I don't. Yeah.
Okay, hold on one second. So Gucci, coming to you. You said you disagree, and I don't know if you heard this. Omega, Gucci is Nigerian. I would love to hear why she disagrees, and I have thoughts, but I'm gonna stall my thoughts. I want to hear yours.
Okay, I don't think there's a difference between. I don't think it has anything to do with marital status. A lot of Nigerian couples move to white neighborhoods so they can take their Black kids to white schools. They are anti-Black.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I'm just saying.
It's not more. Like my point.
Okay.
Nigerians as a whole have an issue. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
Let's not like spread misinformation like on like anecdotal, I guess, experiences with Nigeria.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that was my sentiment as well. I don't necessarily like. I mean, that might be a an individual experience, but and I know KGR put it in the chat as well. Like I think there are certain. I think it's built into what we were talking about earlier, like the actual how it's rooted in white supremacy, and there it's a clear divide that has been perpetuated on both sides, right? From Black people that aren't from the U.S. and Black people within the U.S. And it's been something that's continued to actually plague us to this day. But Willie said something interesting, and Willie, I want to hear your thoughts. You said it's not about it's all about culture. That's the difference. So you think it's only culture?
I personally think it's a culture difference. In my opinion, what I've seen, I've dealt with a lot of people from Africa. I'm a plumber, okay, and I've dealt with a lot of African people, Nigerian. I've been to a lot of customers' house, and whenever I go to somebody's house, I always notice their culture is different compared to an American Black culture.
Okay, but
That's a culture. In my opinion, I
second,
think it's a
KGR. Hold
culture
on.
difference. You know, that's my opinion.
Finish your thought. I'm sorry. Finish your thought. I want to hear it.
You know, to me, it's more of a culture difference because that is my opinion. Because the American culture compared to a Nigerian culture or like how can I say Nigerian, Haitian culture, there's different cultures when it comes.
So your thought is that it's not about anti-Blackness. It's not about being rooted in racism or systematic racism. It's just cultural differences that make people feel that way or act that way or actually do like that's why the divide is.
That's why there's a difference between, and that's in my opinion. That's the way I look at it. I feel that very highly. That is really it's an American culture that other African Americans that don't understand that.
Okay, hold on one second.
From Africa, I'm sorry.
Hold on one second. Yayak. Shay's getting ready to drop. Yayak, if Shay's dropping, I would love to hear have you come up because you said you agree. You agree with Willie and guys, I'm right here with you. Just hold on. I want to hear these points. Yeah. Go ahead. I can't send you a request up because I want to hear your thoughts. Please and thank you. I legitimately want to hear your thoughts before we move around to the rest of the panel. Good night, Shay. Thank you for hanging out with us. Also, guys, Debbie's in the chat for Doug. Doug sent a $1 donation and sent like Panda and some pink hearts. I mean, not pink heart, purple hearts. Thank you so much for that $1 donation. Doug, that means we're only $245 away from closing out our nightly donation goal. If you guys enjoy the information, education, entertainment, please consider donating. It helps support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything's appreciated. Yeah, is it Yaya or Yayak? Are you going Yaya? Okay, cool. Yaya, can you request up? I'm legitimately leaving this box open for you, and I want to get you in here before we shift and open up the actual conversation to what I know is gonna go in a different direction. So would you like to request up? I mean, you're still putting in the chat like LOL. We're holding the box for you because I want to get your perspective if you share a similar thought process as Willie.
Does the direction you're going does it have to do with economics or
No.
Okay, I have a thought on that. Whenever you feel it's appropriate.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Tell me why you agree with Willie.
Okay, I don't agree with everything that Willie is saying.
Okay.
However, I do agree with the fact that he said the culture difference. I'm originally from the Caribbean.
Okay, I'm sorry. Questions. Yeah. What's your race?
I'm Black.
Okay. What country do you live in?
I live in the United States. I live in the
But you're
state of
from-
Georgia,
Okay, and you said you're from where?
the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago.
Awesome.
But
And
I
when
grew
did
up
you?
in
What?
New York,
Perfect. What age did you come to the U.S.?
age 12.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to set that backdrop. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. So, but me moving to New York at age 12, I went to middle school and high school and the rest of my life here in the United States. I've lived in different states, being married into a military family and everything. So it's different. The cultural difference does make it different. We're not different people. We're all Black people. We all stem from the motherland, like I like to call it, or most people do. But the cultural difference makes it hard to understand or relate to each other. I have friends from like all different races or different cultures, different countries and everything. But if I'm hanging out with, partying, conversating with, or whatever, with Caribbean people, they don't have to be from the same country I'm from, but just Caribbean people, it's a difference in the way that I conversate. We party different. We chat differently. We may have different accents, but we speak the same language somehow. But I have African American friends. Some of my best friends are African American because I've lived in this country for so long. But there's still a cultural difference. We deal with each other differently. I wouldn't say I'm a different person, but we deal with each other differently. I have YT friends, and we deal with each other differently. There are times when we all get together.
Okay,
but
hold it right there. Keep it right there. Hold on 1 second. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to hang out with us for a little while? Because again, we're going to flush out this conversation a little bit more, but I wanted to get your perspective. Do you have time to hang out just a little longer?
I'll stay for a little bit. I typically don't do panels. I can't believe you got me up here, Santana.
Hey, W's in the chat for yeah.
This is my very first time. I'll stay.
Okay. All right. 1 second. I want to come to Mello because Mello, you have not gotten to speak yet, and I would love to get your thoughts on all of this because I feel like I know the thoughts of other people, and I want to hear yours before I open it up to other people. So, Mello, what do you think?
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. All right. So, I don't really think it's a cultural problem. I mean, I think a lot of people get how street culture is and confuse it with African American culture as a whole, and that's just not the case. I also think people come in with their own preconceived notions because you see in my picture right here, in my family, we never had no identity crisis. I'm dressing like that's I'm wearing African clothes as a kid. That's me in the picture. You feel what I'm saying? I always knew the truth. I was actually lucky enough to go to an elementary school where they taught us stuff like that. Now, not everybody in every school has had the opportunity to learn about people from other cultures. That's going to create a problem. You're going to run into just ignorant people. And not everybody is like that. And I think that's where the real divide comes in, is just people run into each other who don't know enough about each other to make educated thoughts about each other. A lot of people are not even qualified to have these conversations, in my opinion, because they didn't do enough research on one another's cultures to begin with.
Okay. All right. Give me a second. All right. So let's do this. I'm going to start with Jordan, and then I'm going to come to KGR. But Jordan.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think what's getting me is one of the aspects of culture is like shared values. And I think one of the things that I'm trying to grapple with is what value, like, are the differences we're talking about in culture, are they, I don't want to say superficial because that has a negative connotation, but for lack of a better word, that's all I can think of. Like, are we thinking about like just the superficial differences, like, you know, clothes, food, language, like those things? Or are we saying that whatever divide exists between Africans and African Americans, or just throughout the entire Black African diaspora, are we saying that there's something deeper, like fundamentally, that caused the divide? I think that is what I am confused about, because I personally don't think that exists. I just think I think it is like we have more similarities than we have differences, but because anti-Blackness works toward upholding white supremacy, anti-Blackness is basically it's basically used against different groups within the diaspora to keep us like fighting each other versus fight. Yeah, you know where I'm going, Santana. Anyway,
and I'm gonna hold my thoughts. KGR.
Go ahead.
No. What do you think?
Okay, so I think that there are cultural differences, and I will acknowledge all of those, right? I think the difference is oftentimes what other diaspora members understand about Black culture is what they see on TV. They don't actually understand Black culture in general. It's like, I did a video talking about how Southern culture, cowboy culture is Black culture, because I'm a Black Southern girl.
Same.
Now, if you were to ask from the diaspora about, oh, no, that's white tea people and Black people don't do blah, blah, blah. It's propaganda that has been propagated. And a lot of times, from what I've seen, is across the diaspora, the viewpoint of Black Americans, specifically Black people of the United States, who are from here, who are raised here or bred here. It's this automatic assumption of nefariousness as well as criminality because they see it on TV. They don't actually understand our culture, even though our cultures are very similar. What we see from Black Americans from the United States is oftentimes a reactive response. Like we're reacting to feelings of, why are you talking down to me? Why are you treating me in this manner? Motherfucker, I paved the road for you to be here. And you're sitting here talking about how my culture is so bad, how Black people are so bad, they're uneducated, they're criminals, they're baby mamas, all this other shit. And then you're turning around and begging us to assist. So that becomes an adversarial relationship. It's not factual because our cultures are so similar. Like when I went to Antigua, Tortola, right? While they spoke a lot of patois, while, certain things were different, things were so similar, I didn't feel unwelcomed.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do have light skin privilege. So I do understand that. My light skin privilege gives me that access.
Okay. So the reason why I was holding off, and I really wanted to hear everyone's thoughts on that, is because I absolutely unequivocally agree with KGR, Jordan, and Gucci, right? And also Mello. Yes, there are differences within culture, but I think if we don't actually address what it really boils down to, and that's the constant upholding of the patriarchal system, the true principle of why race was created and how racism is weaponized, that's the point. That's the inflection point. That's the purpose, because to their points, yes, people might not necessarily be as welcoming if you don't, get their culture. You might not understand why certain people do the things that they do. But I don't think that becomes a bigger barrier as the actual, I don't want to call it misinformation or disinformation, but just the actual strategic approach to keep Black people globally divided. And I think that's where it really lies. I think that drives that. What up, twin? I think that's where it drives to the heart of everything, because it's not just about Black Americans. It's not just about Nigerians. It's not just about Jamaicans. It's about Black people as a whole. It's about Black people as a whole, and the way that there's a systematic approach to keep Black people divided across the globe, whether it's through racism or whether it's through anti-Blackness. So that's why I held off to that point, because again, I don't want to just say, oh, there's nothing at all when it comes to differences, because if you disrespect someone's culture, then it makes it harder for people to, accept you or even want to interact with you. But there's so much more to that. Whew. All right. I just
wanted to say that part of the diaspora, as a Black American, we love your food. Y'all love our food. We can travel together. We all agree with cleanliness and washing our legs.
Listen, we do wash our legs.
Yes.
We use a washcloth.
Yes, amen. Amen. We wash our food. We wash our meat. I approve of, this is how we know we have a lot of commonality. Dirt is not accepted in any Black culture, no matter where you're from. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
We have a lot more in common than we have not.
Also, KGR, it always blows their mind, when they find out about, country Black people, right? They think that's such a white thing.
It's okay. Grown up, again, my mother's family bred horses. We breed thoroughbreds and Friesians, right? Yeah. So I grew up on horseback. I didn't know that shit was weird. And it was only funny to me because, when all the Texas boys was walking around on the horses, I was like, yeah, that's how we roll. That's life. That's how I grew up. I know that was different until, again, it's regional because, again, you go up north, they don't do that, but they also don't have horses.
Yeah, yeah. You know how many times I remember as a youth walking to the lake to go fishing? Just walking through the woods to a random lake to go fishing, and then, or, hunting. Walking down the street, and then someone just rides past you on a horse. And just Black people.
Hunting.
Hey, host, we had horses in my city. Man.
And what city was that, Mello?
Bro, I'm honestly.
You lied. Tell me about it, Mello.
I'm not. They made a movie. They made a movie about it with my man. What's his name? He's just Albra. They made a movie kind of about it. I'm dead serious. Yeah. When I moved up from out my area, people never believed me. I'm like, yo, we used to have horses walking through my neighborhood, bro. We had horses down here, up here. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, they do, and I will tell you why.
Say concrete cowboy.
I seen horses, but the cops rode them.
Yeah, but no. But you're Boricua, right? And I'll remember
regular people.
I mean in New York City.
Willie. When you're in Puerto Rico, the thing that always surprised me is they have a bunch of wild horses that be running everywhere.
Oh, yep.
And the horse girl, Southern country girl, I'm like, babe, pull over. And my husband's like, oh, good God, no.
Yes.
He came up north. So I was like, just pull over, please. I'm sitting there petting the horses. I'm like, I can ride this thing.
She's completely factual.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's this one island in Puerto Rico. It was called Mosquito. No, I don't remember the island. There's three
I went out there and we were riding horses, and my husband was really pissed off because I'm like, we can take these back. They'll fit on the plane.
Yeah, United States has stray horses, stray cats. That's stray horses.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's nothing but horses just all over the place.
Okay.
That is also Black culture when we think about it, because Black people tend to have a much closer relationship to animals. We have a way with animals across the board, and we see that in every island. We see that in all of the diaspora. We see that on the continent. Our spiritual connection to animals, our ability to understand the natural order of life, is very much intrinsic to all of us.
But do we push our dogs around in strollers? That's the question.
No.
No,
right,
but we
hold
tell
on.
them they're dogs of God, don't we?
Yeah. All right. So let's do this because I don't want to go too far and get off. Because I do want to actually take it somewhere else, and I will say this as well. Anyone say black people weren't cowboys or not country or whatever. Tell them look up the Buffalo Soldiers. Anyway, let's keep going. I want to shift the actual conversation a little bit. And as a matter of fact, I want to actually put some pressure on the chat as well. Chat, we're at 64,000 likes. 10 minutes to get to 100,000 likes, so we're going to sub only. Tap the screen, share the live, do all the wonderful things. We still have $245 left in the nightly donation goal. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24, best way to support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything is appreciated. Let's do this. So I want to take a bit of a shift because I want to get into one other thing, and I'm not sure if it's exactly where SJ was going, but I want to give SJ an opportunity to talk about. You said that you wanted to speak on something that was related in economics.
Yeah, just in a meta sense, thinking about anti-blackness and what this is all about. I do think it has its roots in capitalism, because if you think about it,
Yes.
Capitalism thrives on scarcity, and communities of color, black communities, like, we share typically, unless we fall victim to the lies of capitalism and we get lost in the sauce, and you see black people get red pilled and all that stuff, fall into hustle culture. I'm just saying, it's the idea of community is what has brought us forward. And what I see anyways with anti-blackness is, oh, well, I need to speak a certain way, dress a certain way, look a certain way, therefore I can become more proximate to this opportunity, because we do live in a system predominantly where the global hegemony has established capitalism as the way we do things. And so as a means of survival, yeah, we participate, but I don't think it's natural. And it creates these, Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. We are slaves to the system in some ways. And it's like, we have to figure out a way to break free, because if we don't, colorism will persist, racism will persist, sexism, all of the things will persist, because it does thrive on disadvantaging one group over the next, which sounds a lot like racism, right? Somebody has to be at the bottom. Somebody has to be the one who is getting the least benefit, the least wages. And then colorism in the community is kind of like that, where those who are lighter complected are given more opportunities or more respect or thought to be more intelligent, things like that, when it's simply not the case.
Yeah.
So in a meta sense, that's the stuff I think about with regards to this topic.
Yeah. No. Listen, so I absolutely agree with you, and I think it kind of segues into what where I wanted to go. Also, I think I'm going to do something else soon as well. Guys, keep tapping the screen again. Remember, we got 7 minutes to get to 100,000 likes. If we're not at 100,000 likes in 7 minutes, we are going to sub only. We are going to sub only if we are not at 100,000 likes in 7 minutes. So tap the screen, or you can go ahead and grab a subscription. I wanted to get into environmental apartheid because I think that's so connected, right? I mean, like the way that capitalism is connected to environmental apartheid, where you see those marginalized communities, and not just black communities, right, but marginalized communities that are often victims of environmental apartheid or racism, where they do place those factories or those plants or the dumping grounds in those areas, those communities, and they have to deal with poor water quality, poor air quality, poor land quality. And it's something that, of course, it's rooted in capitalism. I told someone this today: capitalism and racism are intimately intertwined, and they often use each other. And I was talking about how classism or capitalism was used as a cover for racism when it came to the initiative to shift away from free or low costing colleges or higher education education because Black people started to attain it. So they use capitalism to perpetuate their racism. But then in the same vein, there are people who partake in classism and they use racism to increase their classism. And I reflected on the LBJ quote about, basically giving a white man someone to look down on and how, they'll empty their pockets for you. So those two are very intimately entwined. But I want to come to, let's see, Jordan. Jordan, you haven't gotten an opportunity to speak in a while. Jordan, I would love to hear your thoughts on environmental apartheid and how that affects marginalized communities.
Yeah, and I had actually recently been doing some reading on this. I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but I am in Memphis, and if anyone has been keeping up to date with the news, they know recently about Elon and his basically his like AI farm that is in the Memphis area, and the damage that it's going to be doing to the people in that area. And so kind of like what SJ was saying, like going along with like the capitalism feeds into the racism, and the racism feeds into the capitalism, and it's just a circle that continues. And so when we think about environmental apartheid, we have to think about the fact of how sorry, I'm kind of like jumping all over the place, but one of my friends, she is a civil engineer. And one of the projects, she's in Texas, and one of the projects that at her old job that they were working on involved like basically building a new like kind of small town. And it just happened to be basically like the drainage point of the flood zone. So like basically that's where all the water would go. And that area was projected to be a predominantly Black area. So that was just like another example of how we see that when it comes to like environmental injustice, environmental racism, how Black people are very often put into spaces that are just not meant for our survival. Definitely not meant for us to thrive in.
Okay. Hold that thought for just a second. Yeah, I'm gonna come to you as well, Mello. But 1 second, Willie, I want to give you an opportunity. I didn't know if you had any specific points that you wanted to make when it came to environmental apartheid. Any thoughts that you had on that?
I know when I was growing up in Brooklyn.
Thank you, KGR.
My grandmother was working on 3rd Avenue at the candy shop, the Now Light. Remember the candy Now Later the Now Laters? They put the Now Later factory in our neighborhood, and the fumes that factory used to kick out. And that candy used to be, like, people used to go crazy for that candy. But the fumes for the city was ridiculous. They had another factory there that was for seamstress, and they did all the name brands. Back then, when all the name brand used to be like in America, she used to be a seamstress there too. So like I seen what they did to the neighborhoods in inner city, and it was, and it's always in our neighborhood. It was never in their neighborhoods. When it comes to that extent, yes, I have seen it, but not towards like what she was saying with the AI farms.
Got it. Okay, hold on.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Hold on 1 second. No, you're good. I'm sorry. Yeah, I see you. I think you're getting ready to drop. Yeah, did you want to chime in on anything with this environmental racism before you go, or any last thoughts?
No, I agree with what everyone is saying. The don't have anything to add. I'll just stay in the comments and keep listening.
No worries. Well, thank you for coming up. I appreciate you hanging out on the panel. How did that feel?
Thank you for having me.
It wasn't too bad, right?
A little bit nerve-wracking. It's weird that I can't hear myself speak. So, yeah, but other than that, it was cool. Appreciate it.
Well, I hope you come back.
Maybe.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry, Willie. You can go ahead and finish your thought. I just wanted to get Yaya before she dropped.
No, no, that's been Florida now, so that doesn't happen in Florida because I'm in a different community. Republican state, it doesn't really happen like that.
I think you might not see it, but it definitely happens.
Not in my area. Not in my area.
And that's the point that I definitely want to drive home, but I don't want to say too much yet. Just okay, perfect. Hold on a second. Mello.
You guys have a good night. Big fan,
okay.
Santana.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you coming up, Willie.
Bye-bye.
Yo.
Mello, so you were saying that it's bigger than the US, which I agree. What were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, literally, we find it across the world. We definitely find it across the U.S. It's been going on in our communities since way back. That's why we be having high asthma rates and stuff like that. I mean, our air quality where we live at, it's not as bad since they moved all the factories to China. But other than that, it still happens around the world. Like, I mean, it still happens here on Navajo. Like, I think on Navajo land, they're doing stuff. I mean, the oil stuff. I mean, that's all environmental racism, where they don't care where they're affecting other people's stuff. I mean, the fact that they built highways and through our towns and did stuff like that, I think that's environmental racism too, because you're putting extra pollutants right through where we live. You know what I'm saying? But we definitely see it around the world for a while. I mean, but we don't actually get to see it because the cameras are not there, but we watched it in Africa with the kids doing stuff. I mean, that's environmental racism. The fact that they got to be in there and tearing up the earth and tearing up their communities to even produce to get that stuff. Like I seen a documentary a while ago when it was showing their rivers when they were, I think it was in the Congo, and with BP and had all their rivers and stuff. Like we've seen it from the sky, like the water was rainbow.
Yeah,
that's not good. You know what I mean? That's environmental racism. So it's just like that's a world problem.
Yep.
Honestly, I don't know how bad it is in Europe because I haven't looked, but I'm sure they got their own issues. But yeah, I mean.
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate it. Jordan, what were you saying?
Oh, did you mean me?
Yeah.
Oh, like I said, when it comes to environmental racism, and that actually just got me thinking about the fact that like I said, I'm in Tennessee, and one of the things.
No, you said something in the chat. I'm sorry. That's a.
Oh, I was like, because I said Republican states are too poor to build anything. Yeah, I said what I said. Yeah, so like when it comes, that's why when Willie was saying that it doesn't happen, like Republican state, it doesn't happen in his area. That's what made me say the comment, because I'm like, yeah, Republican states too poor to build anything. But yeah, like you said, it definitely does still happen. He probably just doesn't see it.
Yeah. Okay, give me a second. Gucci, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna agree with Mello a little bit in terms of it being global. It's something that's been happening for decades, but specifically also in the U.S. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but it does. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how to act in this conversation, to be honest.
Okay, I mean that's fair. I mean, again, like my whole thoughts are more so. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We tried to talk about is it happening or what to do about it. I guess would be my.
Well, I mean, either or. I mean, I think it's good to. I mean, I think it's good to identify what that looks like in the different places, right? Because I think a lot of people have a misconception as far as what environmental racism is and who it affects, and that's why, like, I love the different perspectives all around, and then even more Willie's point of view, the fact that it's a worldwide thing, and so the one thing that I still stand on is that even though it is a worldwide issue, it affects marginalized people more than you know people that have access to the higher parts of the
For an
patriarchal system.
example, I guess the whole Keystone Pipeline thing that the MAGA has been going on about, and the reason, or the XL, the reason why why people were so against it was because it would destroy land from of the indigenous people. And it would poison their land.
And and so I started off saying that I don't think that enough people talk about that, right? They debate like whose fault was it? Why it was shut down? It would have added to the economy. It would have done this, but it wouldn't have done that, or da 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 da. But they don't deal with like what that actual impact would have had on indigenous people and
like,
that land.
The short-term memory people have of like the protest that was going on like back a few years ago about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey,
and
Kate, check.
We have like, sorry, just a couple more examples because I have just a couple more examples. Flint, Michigan. And then one of the biggest examples that I feel like people don't talk about here that's more global, or I guess more in Africa, is the Niger Deltas. The way the oil companies have destroyed the land for profit. And it's been going on for decades.
What about, yeah, I'll hold that thought and I want to flesh that out. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, those are the other two examples. I mean, that's just like some of the more, I think, prominent examples of the environmental apartheid.
Yeah. Kate, check. Okay. Omega, I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just always thought that, I mean, yeah, as I was always coming out, that Black people get the short end of the stick when it comes to environmental protections or when it comes to environmental racism. Like what you just said, Flint, Michigan. You see how long it took them to actually start making some kind of change in the water, and it's still not all the way there. I mean, it goes down to the food we eat. I mean, like, we were given, we're put in the neighborhoods where we get the food that has been processed from animals that are that have been chemically enhanced and all that kind of stuff. To we are the number one people that suffer from air pollution. I mean, so it's like a broad and a lot of people don't even take it into consideration, like like Hurricane Katrina. Even though people like YT people and others were affected, who was the main one affected by that environmental disaster? We were. So I mean, like, it's when you look at the broad brush of the whole thing, we've always been the last ones thought of when it comes to environmental protections. In Detroit, they had, it was the case. I'm drawing a blank. There was a case about all these Black communities that were so close to the factories, and all these people got sick. And it took years of litigation and fighting back and forth to even come to some resolution. But I mean, there were so many people that in the family, down to the babies, they got cancer and stuff from those factories and stuff. So I mean, and a lot of it has to do with stuff like redlining, putting black people into those neighborhoods in, where they will be affected and stuff like that. So, yeah. I mean, it's a common, it's a known thing, but it's not really talked about in black communities, which I wish it would be more, because environmental racism is just as prevalent and important as medical racism. So
yeah. I think that there's multiple factors, multiple layers, and it's all so connected, and that's the interesting piece to me as far as like how they intersect. I want to round the base one more time with one other thought, and then I'm still thinking through one other thing. You hit the thought process of medical racism. What I would like to do, because we kind of dug into all of those, but didn't necessarily dig into one other portion, which was the judicial disparities. So, Mello, I'm going to start with you because I feel like I can definitely lean on you. Mello, I'm coming to you, and then SJ, Jordan, Gucci, Omega. That's how we'll do it. Mello, I would love to hear your thoughts on the judicial disparities, or the judicial racism that is prevalent within the United States.
Oh, 100%. I mean, at this point, I feel like everybody should, it's like an open secret, you know what I mean? Like, literally, we get charged at higher rates than our white counterparts for the same crime. Sometimes we don't even get let out. If you look at some of the situations in Alabama, they'll still be held in there after their time has been served, due to these contracts private prisons have with cities, where they have to have a certain amount of people in them. Like, they need to stay 90% full at all times, or they can kind of like lash out and sue the city and stuff like that. So like, I mean, just the fact that a private prison needs to stay full is targeting us, because one, we're not all of us ain't financially capable to have lawyers on deck to fight some of this stuff. If you look at the conviction rate, most of it's like people pleading out because they want shorter time, because if they go try to fight it and they lose by themselves, the time is way higher than what they would get, just taking a plea bargain. So it's all these factors set against us here. I can't even just say African Americans, even though it does happen to us at higher rates. It still happens to other people, happens to Mexican natives. They just don't get caught up in it like that, like how we do. I don't know why, but it's rough, man.
Okay. All right, give me a second. SJ, what are your thoughts on judicial disparities within the United States?
Many thoughts, but I got skipped over on environmental. I know this doesn't necessarily.
Well, you know what? I used yours as a launch pad for the overall thought. I'm sorry.
My bad.
That's why I ended up doing it, because I took the capitalism portion as you were talking about how that was, and that's what morphed the conversation. I apologize.
That's true. You're right. I forgot. But I did want to mention, for those who may not know, maybe you do know, the map of the world as projected, it has problems, okay? The continent of Africa is not that small. It's ridiculously big. There's this cool website. It's called True Size Up, I believe. It's a map. And you can take a projection of the United States and move it around the world, and you'll see, South America is enormous. Africa is enormous. Why is that the case? Is it by necessity, or is it by plan, right? Because you talk about the global South, where other people are. It's these subtle things that create a perception of dominance where there is none. How many white people live in the world, for example? Right? 8% of the world's population. But given the power and influence they occupy in media, society, all the things, sciences, whatever. It's like, and ideas that are stolen and attributed to these people, they create this perception. So all of us, I'm just saying, all of us are affected by this. Now, on the judicial stuff, I have some very personal, painful stories, man. One of my best friends, he has lost all his children. He is fighting 6 felonies. And it's because there's no other explanation at this point. I don't want to take over the whole life of the story because it's insane. He's totally cool telling a story, but I'm talking like, well, he played in the snow. I'll just say that. So ex-wife gets a sunburn. Oh, he abused me. This is the most gentle, chill human you'll probably ever meet. And of course, the state I'm in sides with his ex, now ex. She commits insurance fraud, please, gets a misdemeanor, has his kids full time because the state believes he's aggressive, right? Or violent. Has to sign away his kids so that he can avoid some felonies. Now he's facing some more charges based on made up stuff. This is real stuff. And like, some people don't understand it. I would say even within the community, a lot of times the assumption is, oh, you're a dude, you're a man, like, you know, there's no way. In my case, for example, I have my kids full time. And the way I have to conduct and carry myself and the degree to which I have to prepare for any sort of interaction in court is like next level. And even then, because I had made a video on my profile, I told the story. I was like balling after I went to court because I did all this work. I did all this preparation. I did everything I needed to do. And I just got the bare minimum. Okay. And I won't go into details on that one, but it's obvious to me that in certain instances, if not most, when it comes to a Black person, you do have these disparities, right, from outside in. But even within the community, where you have people who are lighter complected, who maybe get a little bit more leniency. I mean, Brock Turner, wasn't he a swimmer who like assaulted a bunch of women? And they're like, oh, I don't want to ruin his life.
Raped a woman behind a trash can, and the judge gave him leniency because he said he didn't want to ruin his future.
Life. Yeah, crazy stuff, right? So I'll land on this because you know, you introduced me as an immigrant, and I did not understand when Trayvon Martin happened. I feel like something like changed in me, and then Rayshard Brooks specifically. No, it was Ahmaud Arbery specifically, and then George Floyd changed everything for me. And I know that I'm late to all of this. I'm just saying that's the other part of immigrants that we did not, at least I did not understand the degree to which we were targeted and those disparities and how like violent of an outcome, and you lose everything. So when you know, I told you I live in Utah, right? I'm always having to watch what I say, how I move, how I act, and that's fine. I'm here for reasons, okay? I know people like to say, oh, just move out of Utah. But I'm just saying, like, that's part of the reality of being Black. And I don't think it's exclusive to being in Utah. But when it comes to the judicial system, for sure, you have to speak the right way, look the right way, talk the right way, do everything. And even when they say just comply, that's not enough. So I'll land it there.
Got it. Okay. All right. Guys, if you don't mind, keep tapping the screen, share the live. Let's go ahead and get the likes up to 150,000 likes. Also, guys, we still have $245 left in our nightly donation goal. There's, you know, almost 240 people here. So, you know, if everybody sends $1, we can get close to closing our nightly donation goal. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24, Santana Speaks 24. Best way to support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything's appreciated. I want to spin it around really quick. Because I want to do something. But I want to get quick thoughts. Jordan, Gucci, Omega.
Yeah. So I'm so sorry. I forgot what the train of thought.
Judicial disparities.
Yeah. So when I think of, you know, judicial disparities, one of the.
And I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm gonna say this real quick. Mello, SJ, I'm gonna drop both of you. Okay.
Thanks for having me up, man.
Stay close though. Don't leave. Just hang out because I'm gonna do a thing. Just hold on.
All right, no doubt.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jordan.
So at in college, I was basically a pre-law and history major, and one I remember one of the things that I will never forget is a case where we were reading the judge's opinion. It had to do with a black woman, and she was talking about discrimination she experienced in the workplace, and she was making the claim that it was due to racism and sexism because, black women, we occupy both. And so she said, the judge basically in the decision said, black women don't have I'm paraphrasing, but they don't have a right to some type of like super category of human. That part I'm not really exaggerating. That's basically what it said. And so it's just the fact of one of the main judicial disparities is the blatant dismissal of intersectionality. So yeah, that's just something that will always stick with me. That was actually written in judicial opinion, forever codified into law.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Jordan, I'm gonna drop you down, and just hang tight, okay? Gucci, your thoughts on judicial racism?
I think it's something that's very prevalent and has been for years. Like some of the guests have said, like the Trayvon Martin and George Floyd and all those cases. But also just like the studies that have been done about how Black people are more likely to be prosecuted than their white counterparts, and how they're more likely to have or to get like harsher sentences than their white counterparts. And like someone in the chat had said that where Black people are more likely to be exonerated. Just kind of goes to show you like how prevalent and how deep it runs. And I think like what people fail to realize is when racist white people weren't able to legally own other human beings anymore, they found other ways to do it. One of the first ways they found to do it was through the judicial system.
The overall, not only the judicial system, but like the police enforcement and just the overall, like the penitentiary system with jail and how, that's legalized slavery and like all of it is so intertwined. So you're absolutely right. Okay. All right. Gucci, I'm going to drop you. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Omega, thoughts on did you start the conversation? I can't remember. Anyway, real quick, thoughts on the judicial racism.
I mean, you got to, we are supposed to make change about judicial racism. I think you got to start from like the bottom up because there's a lack of Black judges. There's Black people that go to jail or get higher bails, and they usually, and they doing longer sentences, and it's one of those situations where you have to think about it from the head down. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things that we're going to have to constantly push for Black people in those seats that can actually give other Black people a chance, because when we go in, you have the judge looking at you as a criminal before you even step in through the threshold. You have the jury looking at you as a criminal, and you have the prosecutor looking at you as a criminal. And so to actually make change, you're going to have to retrain these people's way of thinking. Because there's like a racial bias in policing. We already know that. And then, when they get plea bargains, like the plea bargains are like 10 times or at least 2 times more than a white defendant. So yeah.
Yep. I completely agree. I think that the understanding that there's a complete difference in the overall sentence, but that comes back to lack of representation and lack of people being able to connect the humanity, and that's why you see those things. So I completely agree with that. Okay, all right, I'm gonna drop you down.
All right, bro.
All right, guys. So I cleared the panel for a specific reason. I'm gonna try to do this, and one, I'm not filling up all the boxes. We're not gonna fill up all the boxes. Just an FYI. I originally was gonna change the layout, but I don't want to fill up the boxes. I don't want to fill up the boxes because I feel like once we fill up the boxes, it makes it harder for to be able to have this conversation. I know this conversation is a big conversation. So I want to. Last night we had a conversation around colorism. We had a conversation around colorism, and it ended up being a lot, and not only being a lot, but a lot of people didn't get to necessarily speak on it. There was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot. So I cleared the panel, and as a matter of fact, just FYI, if you're in the box right now, I'm kicking everybody out of the box just because I want to clear the box and make sure that everyone understands why you're coming up. Right, so if you're in the box, just give it a second, and I'm just kicking everyone out the box for a second. All right, now, if you are someone that is a part of the Black or brown community, and you would like to join the conversation around colorism, if you're a Black person, if you are a Black or white presenting person of the Latino or Hispanic community, if you're a person of color and you want to join the conversation around colorism and how it presents itself within our communities, go ahead and request up. Go ahead and request up. And I wanted to spend the remainder of the live digging back into that conversation and fleshing that out, and I think really more so addressing some of the things that we don't know about colorism and the misconceptions that we do have and how that is actually built out. And again, I'm not gonna fill up the entire panel. So if you are interested in joining the conversation, go ahead and request now, and I'll get a few people in. And just an FYI, once we start the conversation, the boxes are closed. So the people that we have on the panel is going to be the people that we have on the panel. We're not going to add anyone else. And last but not least, if you are not a part of these communities, please be mindful that this is a conversation that is specific to these communities. So if you are not someone that necessarily falls within that community and you are in the chat, be mindful of your comments because my mods will mute and block. So there's that. All right, I'm going to start bringing people in. Again, if you are interested in actually joining this conversation and you are someone that falls within that community, go ahead and request up. Mark, how are you?
Well, I'm doing well. How are you, Santana?
Good. Mark, what is your race?
Well, I mean, this is actually, part of the conversation. I'll just say that I'm Spanish, Latino, I'm Puerto Rican.
Okay. Well, are you white presenting or Black presenting?
Yes, I would say I'm more so white presenting, but that's okay. Actually something that I wanted to ask about.
Okay. All right. We'll dig into that because there's more to be said around that with Hispanic and Latino people and the impacts of colorism there as well. Let's see. Just being, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. What is your race?
I'm Black.
You're Black. Perfect, perfect. Give me a second here. Let's see here. Oh, I think the person I was just about to get in is not there. All right. Some people are saying what community, if you're a part of the Black or brown community and you want to join the conversation around colorism, how it manifests itself within the different communities, whether you're a Black person, whether you are Hispanic or Latino, and you want to join the conversation, Robski, what is your race?
100% Mexican.
Okay. But are you Black presenting, white presenting, which one?
Yeah, I'm not either or. I'm Mexican.
Mexican isn't a race. What do you put on your census?
Mexican.
You can't put
That's what I wanted to ask about.
You
Yeah.
can't put Mexican on the census.
You can't put a race on white and black. I mean, there's
Robski, okay, give me a second. Do you have personal videos or pictures or anything of you on your okay, I can kind of see your all right. So you're white presenting.
I'm not white.
I know I'm just telling you based on your phenotypical characteristics, you could pass as a white man. That's what race is, right?
But I'm of color, so I can pass.
I'm not saying that you're not, Robski. I'm just telling you, do you understand what race is? That's why I said, what is your race?
My race is Mexican, brown.
Mexican is not a race, it's an ethnicity.
I'm of color.
Sure, I hear you, Robski. Race is, what is race? Not your race. What is race?
Hispanic, Latino, I guess, if that's what you want.
No, not what is yours. What is race?
You tell me. What are you looking for on this live?
Robski, you've been here for a while. I saw you.
I have.
Okay. Race is a social construct that is based off of phenotypical characteristics.
You're not gonna
it's
label
the way that
me
you
as
actually
a white guy if I'm not white.
You're white presenting.
No, I'm not.
Never mind. This is not what I'm trying to do, Robski. You're not equipped for the conversation, so you can listen from the comments again. Like you're not here for the conversation because you're not equipped for it. All right, we're gonna get started with where we are. Last but not least, Mello, can you tell the people what is your race?
Yeah, I'm Black.
All right, perfect. We'll get one other person in here if he's still here. I don't know if it's all right. So let's get started. So, Mark, I want to start with you because you were saying that you kind of had the same question, but I think there's more to that. So, Mark, first, just I guess I think you heard what I was saying as far as what race is. So, do you understand the construct, the construct of race?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Now, within the Hispanic and Latino culture, right? There is a line of demarcation, and that's where the conversation came. Said, what do you present as? Do you present as white or do you present as Black? Tell me what you know about that and the actual where that lies as far as the Hispanic or Latino community.
So I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'm very ignorant on the subject.
Mm-hmm.
I do know some things, but I mean that's really what I'm here for, is just to learn more. But when it comes to the Latino community, there is like a very defined line when it comes to color, right? So
tell me about that.
I get in America, I wouldn't be able to speak in a different part of the world, but in the U.S. You'll have white presenting Latino people that try to be more in a part of the white community. I mean that boils down to the system and trying to climb up the ladder, so to speak. But But
what
then
ladder? Do you know specifically what system and what ladder?
Yeah, the hierarchy of quote unquote who's better. Essentially, like the sort of like divide that we have of like racially biased system, sort of racist system.
Hey, Mello, what's that system called?
The racist system, the caste system.
Oh, not caste system. I mean, that's other. The system that is that necessitated the the patriarchal system. That's what I was looking for. That's where
Okay.
we were leaning into. So Mark, have you heard of the patriarchal system? Do you know what that is?
I mean, actually, yeah, but I thought that was specifically towards men and women, like misogynistic. I didn't realize that also equated to race.
No. The patriarchal system is multifaceted, and depending on where you fall intersectionally, depends on your ranking within that system. Just being, did you want to share anything about the patriarchal system? Kind of help Mark understand that.
Yeah, just again, like you said, patriarchy kind of feeds into everything, and it was created to have people put in specific places. And that included based on race within that patriarchy, right? So even when we're looking at the patriarchy, not all men are on the same level. So there's still a hierarchy even within the patriarchy, with women obviously being second class, but also the men also fall in line in that system. And that's definitely based on race. Also, again, Mark, I know you said like, you made a comment about like, oh, I don't know, am I white presenting? And Santana tried to explain like, it is what you physically look like. It's not trying to take away from your ethnicity or your heritage or your culture. It's just what you look like. So I hope that kind of clarifies things. It's not to take anything away or try to put you in some category. It's basically race is what you look like to other people. And again, race is very specific, and unfortunately Hispanic is not listed as a race. And that's why oftentimes when we're looking at those boxes on like the census, it says white, non-Hispanic, that type of thing, because Hispanic is not listed as one of the races. So I just want to throw that in there.
So to that point, like I did know like Hispanic isn't a race, and I do appreciate you making that distinction. So the biggest thing that I wanted to bring up actually is so I work in like the government. I'll just make it easy. So I have to do sometimes do like those kind of like census kind of forms where I have to ask somebody's race, somebody's ethnicity, those kinds of things. And I've been doing it for about 3 years now. So I'm very well versed in those kinds of things. So when you bring up like the census on like the race section, it's like white, black, the typical stuff. But then you get like Asian, Pacific Islander, and then in ethnicity, it's completely separate. It says Hispanic, Latino, not Hispanic, Latino, other, prefer not to say all that stuff. But so like, and I do get it's just how you present to other people. But in my life, I've been told everything under the sun. I've been told white, I've been told Spanish, I've even been told Middle Eastern. So essentially my question is why is it that I'm essentially white, but in every other facet, I would be a different category. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, it does. Easy answer. It's because it's a social construct. That's what it boils down to. It's something literally that was created as race was created as a tool to oppress people. And so in certain instances, the tool has changed or moved around in slight pieces to perform the racism as it's intended to do so. But that's exactly why. Mello, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure, why not, man? Because literally, the racialization of the patriarchal system has definitely always been here since the inception of America. Literally, you know, white tea man on top, everybody else fall in line under. That's generally how it goes, and it's a system in between. You know, like they'll literally put everybody else in between, but African on bottom, and they make sure to keep that as the main social caste system, if you will. And literally just coming up with the whole racial construct period is a part of that. Like, you know, classifying this as this, saying I don't even know if you could say mulat, you know, whatever, stuff like that. Mestizo, all these crazy octoroon, quadroons, and all this stuff is literally all a part of that. It's all a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Give me 1 second. I don't want to. I see one person, but I want to make sure that I'm seeing what I'm saying. Jillian, how are you? Jillian, did you mean to request up? I'm gonna take that as a no because I was checking this out. I didn't think that you joined the group. We're supposed to be on conversation, but I want to check. All right. Yeah. So that's what it really boils down to. It's been a thing, and even more so, it's a divisive thing, and kind of drilling back down to the overarching point, with the understanding of like race and how it continues to be categorized, you start to see colorism within the Black and brown community, where the black and brown community starts to separate themselves from themselves to actually perpetuate that access to the patriarchal system, right? The proximity to whiteness. And then you talk about the discrepancies between those two communities, when it comes to like how you see within the Black community is a tendency to be more harsh towards Black men or Black boys that are darker skinned versus the ones that are lighter skinned, right? And it's something that's perpetuated even within like history of the Black community. And I'll give a personal example. My grandmother at one point used to show favoritism towards me because I was one of the lighter grandchildren versus some of my other cousins who were darker, right? And it wasn't necessarily an instance where, you know, I was, you know, put up on a pedestal and all this other stuff, and they were cast out, but there was obvious discrepancies between children that were around the same age, and there was preferable treatment that was given because of my look, because of my shade. And that's something that is prevalent between not only the Black community, but the brown community. And it's a continued divide that is harmful because it continues to actually uphold white supremacy. I'll open it up to anyone that wants to add anything to that.
Can I? Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, that's been a great problem. That even goes back up until why people really started doing it. Definitely delineating the further away you were from African, the higher you were in the social. So we had a lot of white tea passing African Americans here. I mean, like what's this lady name? Oh, I can't remember her name, man. But she graduated from a college in like the early 1900s. You know, at a predominant, you know, it was all white tea college. But she was so white tea passing, she was able to go with no problem, have no problems the whole time, get a degree, and graduate. Anita Hemmings, I think that's her name. If anybody want to look her up and actually look at her,
I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, she was really, really. I haven't seen her in like a while, but yeah, she was really white tea passing like crazy. You would have thought, you know what I mean? But literally them delineating themselves to get the privileges in this country, that's where it started. And then they came up with stuff like the Racial Integrity Act, you know, to kind of stop that from happening. Because the white tea man started noticing, oh, okay, you guys are just playing. You're not really white tea so far as like we like to say it. You're like a hexagon or something. You're so far removed, you're just white tea passing. You know what I mean? Like, so that's when they did the Racial Integrity Act to stop people from intermarrying and stuff like that. You know, out of the Racial Integrity Act right after that, because they did that, is how we even got Virginia v. Levin to begin with. But that's here and there. I don't even mean to go off like that. My bad.
No, you're good. I love where you're taking it. Also, yeah, it is Anita Florence Hemmings. And she graduated in what was it? Hold on, I just had it. She graduated in the 19th century, so it was before the 1900s. But yeah, she was the first known Black woman to graduate from Vassar College, but she did so as passing as a white woman, and so they continue to use her as the case when you're talking about racial identity. But I'm sorry, go ahead, you got it.
No, yeah, but that's exactly right, man. Like you see her face, you see like she would have got in anywhere. Skin complexion for protection is what you know was the name of the game they were playing back then. We watched it happen in the Creole communities, them separate from other, you know, just to have that boot off their neck a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Like, and from that, it created a kind of a self-hate environment where now they have to I don't know, I'm messing that word up, but you know, use the white tea supremacy methods on their own people just to maintain their racial status. I mean, they're going to have to practice xenophobia. Now they only can be with people who look like them and nobody else, you know, just to maintain this. So it creates a whole lot of problems coming down on the line. I'm pretty sure you got something fire to say after this, so I'm gonna go pass it to you.
Actually, I don't now. Hey Monique, I sent you a request. Would you like to come up? I would love to hear your story. I sent you a request. If you don't mind, I would love to actually hear your story. I sent you a request. Please feel free to join the panel because I think it's important to have that conversation. While we wait to see if Monique is willing to join, is there anything that you would like to add?
Yes, just to kind of parrot like a personal story. I have an older brother who's darker complexion, and I have a younger brother who's lighter than me. I'm pretty light myself. So my younger brother, and they were treated vastly different in our family. So I witnessed that firsthand. And I don't know that they even realized that they were doing it, right? So I think that's one of the things is to bring attention to it and call it out when we see it, because I think it has been so normalized in the Black community, especially when it comes to being lighter skin tone. Like for whatever reason, you know, they're favored more or maybe babied more. And now it's on us to kind of break that mold. And so I have younger cousins now, they're all of darker skin tone. So kind of reinforcing to them, like you're beautiful, you know, the way you are, and making sure we are treating them as equally as we can so that they don't internalize that either and kind of, you know, perpetuate that cycle. So I think it's important to be calling this out and addressing it and not try to negate or dismiss that it's happening, because I think we do a lot of that too, where we're like, oh no, or they're just jealous, whatever, right? And still just call it out for what it is. It's colorism, right? And it just feeds into that system of patriarchy, right? We're using those same systems of oppression just in different ways within our own community. And in order to, again, break those systems, we really do have to take note, challenge that call it out and have these conversations, because they are hard conversations to have. And I do realize that too, especially when we're talking about the way that different groups get treated within these different communities.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. For sure. 1 sec. Monique, are you ready, or are you able to join the conversation? Monique, are you there?
I kind of got some background noise. I got like 10 minutes left. Give me 1 second.
Okay. All right.
Comment to Rob, because he's in the comments still talking about he's white. So can I say something to Rob?
Sure. Right. Rob left and didn't even listen. Like,
yeah, that's why I was like, okay, Rob, I think so. Like a little bit of history. I don't know if you know this, but Mexican did actually used to be a race. However, there was a court case, and I believe it was in Whittier, California, about education system. What happened is that they fought to change it so that they could be classified as white, so that they could go to school, right, with the other white T kids. So you could just Google it and read about it. So it's not us. Like we didn't determine this. This is something that happened, and Mexican again was actually a race until there was a whole legal battle to get it changed so that they could be classified as white. And I think it's a Southern California thing. So a lot of people don't realize that that's what happened or that's what contributed to it. And I don't think it's taught, throughout history, throughout the United States. But like I said, it's a school case. It's like I said, the city is Whittier. I forgot the kid's name, but it led to a whole bunch of things. If you look at the history of California altogether and the Hispanic community and the different laws and things that are passed, it'll enlighten a lot of people to how we kind of got here where we're at, where we're saying like this is the racist, and not saying that you are actually white or Caucasian. It's how you present and how you look to the outside world, right? We're not dismissing the fact that you are Hispanic. It is simply how you present to the world. These are the categories of race that were decided on, and that's the category you fit into. You're not Black presenting, you're not Asian or Pacific Islander, you know what I mean? That's all it really comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not taking away your culture or your history or any way, shape, or form. It's just how you look. So I hope that you can understand that and not be so offended when we're categorizing you as white. Rob lies.
Yeah, Rob.
Okay.
Okay,
So
Rob. Yeah. I mean, like, legitimately, guy, you're being weird, and you're not even trying to actually engage or accept. You don't know what race is, and you're not even trying to engage in the actual, conversation when it comes to what is race. Because if you actually took a step back and thought about what race is and understand that it is a cultural, it is a social construct, literally a construct. It's not something, we're not trying to take away your culture. We're not trying to take away your heritage. We're not trying to take away who you are as an individual, your family, your history, anything like that. We are telling you this is the way that people are categorized in the world. It's not something that we're saying we agree with. It's not something we say that's perfect. We're just telling you this is how people are categorized based on phenotypical characteristics. You are denying that, so you can't even actually engage in the conversation. That's the point.
So to that point, I mean, I understand it's not, disregarding my culture or anything, but at the same time, so I am fairer skinned, which is why I say I'm white presenting. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to being like white, it's hard for me to understand it and grasp it, because growing up, so I was like all my friends were Black. I've been a part of Black, a part of the Black culture like my whole life. Mm-hmm. I was never really accepted by white people. Let me put it that way. Mm-hmm. So that's why I don't understand that, especially with not having the kind of characteristics that other Hispanic people have. Like, for example, like blue eyes. My eyes are, as dark as can be. Mm-hmm. So I don't have like really any of those characteristics other than the fairer skin, I guess.
Yeah, lighter skin,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And so but again, so this why it drills down to the point, right? And it drills to the heart of what the situation is, because you have been told this, and you like you're saying, conceptually you understand it, but you have not been afforded all the privileges of actually being a white man, right? But
Actually, yeah, you don't have it.
but that's literally how racism is supposed to work. That's literally how the patriarchal system is supposed to work. Unless you are a white man, you don't get access to the top of the patriarchal system. That's why you fall below in the intersectional points, where you can talk about the differences between, white men and white women, or like women and, black men, or black women, or disabled people. It's like it's an entire system. It's a pyramid, and unless you meet these specific qualifications to be at the top, you're always going to be lesser, and you're never going to get full access to the top. That's racism. That's race. That's how it's established, and that's why these things are put in place. So you're absolutely right. You'll never get full access to the top of the patriarchal system. You may get passability, right? I mean, you might not be racially profiled as much as someone with darker skin, right? Like if you have a cousin that presents as black, and you two might be out, and he might get harassed by the police where you don't, but you will never get full access to the top of the patriarchal system, and that's the point. Monique, or can you can speak now?
Yes, I can. Woo.
Okay, all right. So you said something super interesting, and I want you to be able to share your story.
Okay, as best as I can.
You sound kind of far away though. And your teacup in your phone. Okay. All right. Well, I think she swiped out and just came back in. Do you want to try to request back up, Monique? There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us what you said, because you had a perspective on, or a personal perspective on, colorism.
Just from a biracial standpoint, my mom, she's Croatian. Well, her lineage is Croatian and German, and my dad is African American. And it was a tricky upbringing, just because I've been told like I'm not a minority, but I know I'm a black woman, and that's how I present myself. Mm-hmm. But even within my family, it's, oh no, she's just doing her thing. And it's only because maybe I might talk a little proper, or I might be accepted in a different spaces. Even like my dad, well, you always got your mom, you'll be okay. But I still face the same problems as his mother, who is a black woman. And it's just, you never accepted fully on both sides.
So do you think that's colorism?
Well, when somebody tells you you're not a minority, I do think it is, and especially from people that are a minority.
Okay. What is colorism?
Well, I would like to think colorism is when you don't acknowledge the struggle that other people have because it's different from your own.
So, okay, just to kind of clear it up, and I know, I know there, maybe this will help, right? So, colorism is super similar to racism. It is a somewhat of a caste system uh, within a certain group that the closer or the lighter your skin, the closer you proximity you have to whiteness, which affords you certain privileges that people that have darker skin don't actually have access to. So, if you keep it directly correlated and you continue to think of it in the same vein as racism, right? Maybe I should throw this question at you first, Monique. Um, can black people be racist to white people?
No, absolutely not. Because
Why not?
because they cannot oppress white people, African Americans, and black people in this country don't have enough power or tools to withhold anything that can dramatically change Caucasians' lifestyle or anything else.
Right. So, with that system of oppression, understanding that you can't oppress up because the white people are ranked higher on the patriarchal system than black people, understanding proximity to whiteness, kind of like we just explained to Mark, affords you more things versus being darker skin. Do you think that people that are darker skin can exhibit colorism to people with lighter skin if lighter skin, closer proximity to whiteness versus darker skin?
I do, only because of certain experiences I've had because of my color. So like I have like stepsisters, and you know, I've had people tell me, well, that can't be your sister. And we're like, well, we look just alike, except for, you know, the skin tone might be a little bit different. We both have freckles, we both have long hair, but you know, I actually had my little sister get in trouble. She worked at Chick-fil-A for a while, and she gave employee discount to me, and her manager, who was an African American woman, she's, oh no, that can't possibly be your sister, she's way lighter than you. And she got in trouble and she got fired, and it was no way to, you know, argue them down or anything like that. So I mean, I have experienced it before, but I don't know if other people have.
Sure. So I don't want to invalidate your individual experience, but I think that you're not necessarily getting the construct and how it works. But I don't want to monopolize this conversation. Just being, I see you chiming in the chat. Would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I like how you compare it to like racism and how like black people can't be racist against white people. Like I because I hear this a lot too, is like I can't experience colorism because how, right? Like
right.
Technically I'm higher up on that pole. So somebody technically that's, you know, can't, again, like you said, you can't oppress somebody above you, right? So and again, Monique, like you said, we're not going to dismiss that experience, but I think there's a different word for that that's not necessarily colorism.
Right.
That's why I say like maybe a bias or a prejudice, right, based on the tone of your skin. But like when we're talking about especially definitions of things, especially when it comes to like any of the isms, like specifically racism or colorism, I think it's really important to hone in on those definitions so we can really explain what we're talking about and not kind of lump everything into that one category, right? So I understand, like, yes, Monique, you experience something being judged based on like the color of your skin from other people within the same class, right? So I don't know that it's necessarily colorism because we are the ones that benefit from colorism. So it's how are we also going to be the victims of it, I think is a way of looking at it because we benefit from it, right? So while they, I'm not saying that what they did was right. Absolutely not. That's horrible. That's terrible. I don't know if I would say that it's necessarily colorism. I think we could maybe try to find another word or definition to describe that.
Yeah.
Just like when we talk about, a black person not liking a white person because they're white, we wouldn't say like, oh, well, they're racist, right? We would say, okay, that's a prejudice or they're discriminating against them. So I think that's all.
Let me do this real quick, and then Mello, I want you to do some heavy lifting for me because I feel like I know you can. Because even then, like we have, we have, I guess it's pronounced Star Action in the chat. Who I'm gonna do this, and then I have something specific that I want to say. Definitions, right? I mean, specifically, like, let's kind of home in on this. Colorism is a form of discrimination or prejudice based on skin tone, where people with lighter skin are often privileged over those with darker skin within the same racial or ethnic group. Unlike racism, which involves oppression across racial lines, colorism operates in a hierarchically within communities of color, projecting systematic advantages for lighter skinned individuals. It has historical roots within colonialism and slavery, and also the caste system. There's modern day manifestations, including beauty standards, pretty privilege, blah, blah, blah. And there's also economic and social biases. There's also, global impacts where you see, within Asian community where with skin whitening, the Latino community, and also the Black community. All three of those directly speaks to, them quote unquote bleaching their skin. And then also understanding the difference between, colorism and racism is a huge thing. Because those two are definitely connected, but they're not the same, right? And so those are a bunch of really key points. And you can actually find there's multiple studies that have been completed about this. Specifically, there is a Pew Research research study that was done on colorism, in which, Mark, I would really, really recommend this for you. But it was one done on colorism on U.S. Latinos. So that would actually give you more information on that. But there's also a great study that was completed by Kathy Russell and Marge Wilson about the color complex. Or I'm sorry, that's some reading that you can do on it. But I say all that to say, understanding that colorism is based on favorability of having lighter skin versus darker skin is the key point to the conversation. And I have something that I want to say, and I think it's really important to say, but before I say it, I want to hear Mello.
Yes, sir. So do you want to talk about, let's say, social interactions with colorism?
You can take it wherever you want. I want to make sure I give you the floor.
Okay, yeah, sure. Even with the colorism, it goes as far as helping your fellow man. We've had social experiments done. You guys actually probably may have seen it. Was a pretty popular one. They would put two young kids out, one white kid, one black kid, and they would watch who would come and help them. And literally, like, no one would come and help the black kid, but everyone would come and help the little white girl. So that's really a part of colorism too. Even the fact of how you're going to deal out your help, who you choose to save, is based on if they're the right complexion or not. That's a part of it. You can talk about even we can go to economics, because obviously they tie that up, and wherever we get loans, redlining, and all those other things, or obviously we've been to the legal system. We definitely know beauty standards. You missed out on people. The Arabs actually do lightening creams a lot too.
Yeah.
It affects their community a lot. But again, all of this is coming off of white supremacy and their, quote unquote dominance of the world during that time, and everyone seeming that white tea was going to get you access to everything, but it wasn't just having lighter skin. It was also being the right kind of white tea, the German descendant kind of white tea. And that's where that's where everybody's getting lost in the sauce when they're dealing with their own colorism and playing into their hands. Because really, you're not going to get anywhere. They're only going to use you to go against the next man that's under you, and they're going to use that next man to go to the next man that's under him until they get to the bottom.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think what I want to do, because there's a lot to this, and I think there's a lot that people are missing, and I do. Oh, Monique left. Ooh, okay. I will say this, and Mark, I know you said that you're going to look up that study just for everybody, just to kind of support what Mello said. There's multiple studies that actually study the impact of colorism in multiple facets, right? There's a study that was completed by the University of Georgia in 2019, looking at the economic and employment impact with colorism. It's called The Cost of Color, Skin Color, Discrimination, and Health Among African Americans. And this specifically spoke to the actual differences in the economic impact. There's a great study that is directly related to like the judicial system or criminal justice. It's actually a study that was completed in 2020 by the Sentencing Project. It's called Colorism in the Juvenile Justice System, which talked about like how darker skinned youth were more likely to be perceived as older and guilty and receive harsher treatment than lighter skinned youth. Education and social biases. I love the social biases. There's a great study that was completed by Harvard Business that back in 2018 about the paper bag test, right? So that's another great one that you guys can actually dig into and review when it comes to like the social cues and the norms. And then even there's a study when it comes to the global perspective. And Mark, since you're up here, I want to give you this one as well. There's another one that is called Colorism in Latin America that was actually just completed back in 2020. That talks about the findings with mixed race Latinos with lighter skin, and this was completed by Pew Research as well. So like there's multiple instances where you can actually break that down. There's a lot of great reading. I think what I'm going to do, especially since Juneteenth is tomorrow, I think I'm going to get this list because there's a lot of great studies, and even more than that, there's some great reading that's listed here. Including the shades of differences, why skin color matters. But I think I'm going to get this posted in my Discord for tomorrow. I think this is a really a lot of great thing, but I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand color. I think people understand racism, and it's easier. Yeah, I'm going to say it. I think it's easier for people to understand and accept racism than it is to understand and accept colorism. And more so when I say this, I am speaking to the people with lighter skin. And I say this as someone with lighter skin who completely understands how I benefit from colorism. But there are people with lighter skin who for some reason feel like their lived experience negates what colorism is. And they think that, okay, well, just because within my family I was treated XYZ way, or people said this or that. I think there is a lot of understanding that needs to occur when it comes to generational trauma, when it comes to family issues, all of those types of things that could actually cause those issues and those one-offs, because I never want to actually negate people's lived experiences, but you also have to understand the overarching benefit that you get. And I tell white people this all the time. Just because you're not actively being racist does not mean that you do not benefit from a racially charged system. That's the point. That's the point. Just because you're not partaking in it, or you don't think that it individually benefits you because you're not trying to actively allow it to benefit you, does not mean that you don't benefit from it. Yep, you got it right there, Mark. Active versus passive. And I think that the same way when you tell certain white people about racism and you try to explain the term reaction in such a hard pushback, it's the same thing that I've continued to see within the Black community with people with lighter skin. So there's a lot to that. There's a lot of unpacking that needs to be done. There's a lot of study, reading, all this other stuff that we need to actually get into. I don't know when we'll actually get into it. I wanted to touch on it. We're over now, but I will leave everyone with these last few words. When it comes to colorism, understand that colorism is rooted in racism. It is a tool of white supremacy to continue to divide the Black and brown community amongst themselves. And even more than that, participating in colorism is upholding white supremacy. We all need to unpack our ish. With that being said, I'm going to throw around the panel for last thoughts. Mark, I'll start with you.
I don't really, I mean, there's not really, I learned a lot. I have all the stuff like pulled up as we speak, like in front of me. So
I'm really happy that you came.
I really appreciate it for that.
Yeah, no, listen, you have really good questions, and I appreciate you coming up and actually throwing the questions out, because it's all made up bullshit. That's what it is. I'm telling you, it's just all made up bullshit to like fucking keep everybody down. That's it. Once you get that, like racism and capitalism is so deeply intertwined, and it's a whole thing. So you might end up going down a rabbit hole, but just, check it out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming up. I appreciate you.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, everybody have a good night. Also, I love Rob. He's really funny. Not the Rob from tonight, the other Rob.
Who's Rob?
You made a whole video about him?
I made a video about Rob?
Not the Rob from tonight. It was a different Rob.
I have no idea who Rob is. Oh!
Yeah.
Holy
I was
fuck.
hoping he would show up tonight.
No, Rob is no. Holy smokes. You just, yeah. Fucking the genius, the smartest man in every panel. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Have
a good night. Just being, last thoughts for you.
I just want to hit on like the last point you made about
Go ahead.
us, because I'm light skinned too, so and I see it too. I do think we need to start having that conversation about how we do benefit from it, right? Not saying that we, get all the privileges of white people, but we definitely benefit from colorism. It is very true. And so I will say I don't think I can experience colorism as somebody like doing that to me, right? Regardless of what is said about me because of my skin tone, especially if it's coming from somebody of a darker complexion. I know that's not the case. Again, the same way that I see it as racism. And like you said, it's sometimes so clear cut when we talk about racism, but we can't apply that to colorism. And we need to explore why we have that disconnect there and why we're not willing to acknowledge that even within the system in which we are oppressed, we are afforded certain privileges. Not that we want them, not that we're actively going out there and trying to get them. Again, just how all white people benefit from racism, right? They do, whether they're an active participant or not. It's the same thing with colorism, and really try to hone that in. And I think that is truly an important conversation to have. And I agree, it's difficult, it's painful, because we don't want to feel like we are oppressors, right? Or holding our community back. So I think that's why it's difficult. But Santana, I appreciate you. I watch you all the time. Thank you for having me up.
Thank you for coming.
And like I said, I think again, continuing to have these conversations is really important. So thank you, and Mello as well. Thank you also for sharing your information and sharing your thoughts as well.
Hey, you have a good night, sis.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mello, floor is yours.
Yeah, my man. So, I got some. You made me do a lot of heavy reading and lifting and stuff tonight, and I got something for
Because you up here clutching. I mean, like when you showed me you could do it, I was like, fucking, pass the rock.
Hey, you know what I mean? I get it, brother. So I got one for you, man. I need you because I really would like you to explain this colorism through the eyes of Latin America. I think it'll be easier for you to explain it.
Yeah.
And I want to give you this little book. It's not that big of a read, bro.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me get here. Go ahead.
Okay, it's called The Remains of Costas and Latin America.
Okay.
Right, so yeah, it'll break down how they use the caste system to basically control, everybody's living spaces, jobs, what they wore, and to give you a lot of detail. So when you go in and explain it to me, I don't want to give up, what's in there, but anybody want to read it, they can. But
yeah, you
for
know
sure.
what's funny? Like one, thank you for that. I need that because I've done a lot of explaining of colorism within like the Black community, but I've never had to try to hold it up and do more explaining within the Hispanic or Latino community. And we didn't necessarily have a more representation from that community to be able to speak to those. And so, I was trying to equate as best as I could. And so I really appreciate it because I realized that I need to brush up on that even more so it can be across the board conversation and not just being so focused on like Black people in the Black community when it comes to colorism. And even more so, like, the other communities that you mentioned and we talked about, like with the skin bleaching and all that. So yeah, I definitely need to do more reading.
100%, man. And listen, like this is not, it's never easy subject to talk about, but definitely when you get into it, the overarching theme of caste systems remains the same no matter where you're coming from, no matter what country. You know what I mean? It's all still stemming from a whitey supremacist standpoint. Like, you know what I mean? Like even the pseudoscience stuff they doled out and made people adopt for some time. Yeah, brother. Yeah. Yeah, man. So but I'm happy you let me up here, man. I watch you all the time.
Fucking you come up here and cook. You get a get a seat at the table. I mean, legitimately, you blew me away. There, the thing that I appreciated about you and like KGR and even just being just now and like across this conversation for the last couple of nights, I know I think the name was gosh, was it hold on, I'll find her. Anyway, there's been multiple people that have joined this conversation over the last couple of nights, and I've been extremely happy, not with just the conversation, Michelle, and then of course Kay, right? Kay cooks every time, but multiple people within, what is that? Hold on. Now I'm interested. I'm sorry. Now I'm invested. I'm sorry. Hey Donna,
Yeah.
what'd you say?
We can't go live on TikTok anymore?
We're live on TikTok right now.
No, just me.
What'd you do?
Okay. I don't know.
Did you do something to get you banned?
No, I just wanted to go live. Just me. Not
Just
with
you
you.
by yourself?
Yeah.
And what did it say when you try to go live, Donna?
Oh, hell. It was like, no.
You must have did something bad, Donna.
No.
I think so. Okay. I'm gonna drop you down, Donna. And you I hope you get some rest and some water, okay?
Okay.
Have a good night, Donna. All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, all good. All good, man. I get it.
Sometimes,
Listen, bro, I be coming against these pseudos, like I debunk a lot. I do a lot of debunking, so
Yeah.
a lot of this information is it be fresh sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate like people who actually join the conversation, and not just join the conversation to be a part of the conversation, but people that join the conversation to actually add value to the conversation. And you definitely did that tonight, and multiple people across the conversation, and especially I'm gonna put her out on Front Street right now, and I know she doesn't like it, but Kay legitimately helped me, not only because when I have thoughts, right, and since you're up here, Mello, you're gonna get the thoughts that I got. So I have like a ton of thoughts in my head, right? And the way that it works is I take all the thoughts that are in my head and I just like dump them all on the table. It's like a fucking puzzle. And then it's Kay's responsibility to figure out the puzzle. Because if it was up to me, like I would talk about everything at one time and we would never actually get to address anything. So I appreciate you. I appreciate Kay. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you, fam. I appreciate people that not only come to these conversations, come to the panel to learn, to listen, but then when they have the ability to come up and they add value beyond what I add, right? Because I'm not, the expert. I'm just the one trying to guide the conversation, hoping that we get access to experts. And like you did that, and so many people have done that throughout the week. So I appreciate all of you.
Yes, sir. I'm sure we appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate everybody spreading actual knowledge. I support my teachers and everybody else here with real education, no phony stuff, getting to the facts over feelings. That's that's the name of the game.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I'm gonna drop you down, my brother. I appreciate you. Hey, feel free to come back.
Sir, good night. Good night,
Right,
chat.
good night. All righty. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do this, all right? Because then we're gonna do this. Bam! Figured it out. Guys, I'm gonna say it. I got an announcement tomorrow. Hold on. Hey, Kay, can you come up for a second? Kay, can you hop in the box just for a second? We're waiting on, we would like Kay to get in the box. Can we make the announcement tomorrow?
I don't know why you're asking for my permission.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Juneteenth.
Well, yeah, I will be live tomorrow too, but we won't make it on. Well, we kind of. Okay. Just want to see if we could do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Guys, I have an amount. W's in the chat, Pam. I love that. I love fish and chips. Yeah, we got a big announcement tomorrow. Did Kay leave? Ain't no way she just Thanos away. Anyway, we got a big announcement tomorrow. We're gonna be doing something really cool. We're gonna be doing something like super cool. And when we do we're gonna be doing something super cool. And the announcement, before you see it on our live, I'll just say, pay attention to some of your favorite creators. But we're doing something really cool tomorrow. Right, Kay?
Yes, Santana, we are.
Yes. All right. Kay, final thoughts.
I think the conversations tonight were really important. I'm really glad that we had them. we did not touch on the one topic that I wanted to. So
what was the one topic?
I wanted to talk about blue space racism because I don't think a lot of people understand and like know what it is.
I thought we were going to give blue space racism like its own breathing room, because I really want to do that.
We were supposed to start it a little bit tonight so we could roll it in. But so
tell the people what blue space racism is, Kay.
Racism that is it's part of environmental racism and environmental apartheid, and it comes into segregating spaces of recreation, water, all of that kind of thing.
Yep. We're going to do blue space racism. I think that's like super important, and a lot of people don't understand what it is, how it works, and how it's been weaponized over the years. It's such a big thing. It's such a big thing. Welcome in, Swan Raid. You guys come. We're just about to get ready to close. I'm sorry, Kay. I'm sorry. I forgot that we were supposed to like make a snake, and I went off.
I know. It's okay. It's all those ideas in your head. It's all those ideas in your head just floating around.
Well, I mean, I throw the puzzle on the table. You're the one that's responsible for it.
I try. But the one thing I will say that happened like this evening and with our conversation that kind of always throws me for a loop is when we do try to have people define what their race is and then their nationality and their ethnicity and not taking into account how finite the United States is when it comes to having race, where globally we can see like on a census form in Australia, they take into account different things that we don't. And so it's so hard to, even though we have to go by what we're defined as, like here in the United States right now on the census form, it is very difficult to not acknowledge, like, if somebody, all they have been raised to know is, their ethnicity and not so much a race. And I think it's super important to, know that globally those things are taken into account, but here it's a little bit more narrow viewed. And so it seems like you have to just pick, and but it is still about your phenotypical presentation and all of those things. And I know it can be a difficult conversation, but I think it's really important to know at least your race, your ethnicity, and your nationality.
Okay, why do you think people are like so advert to that? Because like the Robsky guy, right? And I tried to explain, like, no one's trying to take away your culture or your history or like, but why do you think people like push back so hard on that?
I think culture is one of those things, and speaking from like a white lens where I don't feel that there is a white culture. So it's to have such proud heritage of coming from Mexico or being indigenous to a part of what is now the United States, which was Turtle Island, and kind of having that repealed back when we take a look at actual the standards of now what our census looks like. So that's I think it's just hard to part with that, to be then just kind of lumped in and say like you're white, Hispanic, but white first, or black and then Hispanic, but you were raised with a certain type of culture. So I think people are defensive with that, but unfortunately that's just how like our system works here. So
one last question for you, Kay, because I just thought of this, and since you're here, I'm gonna have you answer this question. So I think I was watching I don't know if it was Swans Live earlier, or maybe it was Twin, or it might have been Solid. Somewhere. I was somewhere. I'm often around these TikTok streets. But
Getting lost.
yeah. Um so there was I think it was Solid. I think it was Solid. And there was a white guy that came up, and like they were trying to get him to engage in the actual conversation, but instead of like, engaging or even giving them a moment to like introduce him and like, take time to like go through the thing, he immediately came up and he wanted to keep going, keep going, keep going, and like, kind of like a sense of entitlement or whatever. And I think it was Solid, because I think Sean said this. But
it was Solid.
It was, you know what I'm talking about? Where there was like, yeah, it was Joe Rogan, yeah, and it was like, it's white men are the least regulated people in the world, and so it makes it harder for them to adhere to any type of structure that it's set out by other people or whatever. Somehow, I'm just, if you were there and you heard, like, can you explain that to me, or like, what do you think? Because I believe that, like, that made sense when I heard it.
It's absolutely true, and also, I mean, why wouldn't they be? They have nothing to lose. The way that the system and the structure is, there's no tangible reason. There's no buy-in. The red pill movement, I mean, even past race and the patriarchy and misogyny, misogynoir, all of those things, they're unaffected. They're unbothered. They have absolutely, nothing. It's just, it's apathy. It's like just I think it's for people who do end up buying in and starting their journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've always talked about, there has to be like something.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think the something is knowledge, but like for other people, it has to either touch them, it has to, affect them somehow. But unfortunately, they lack, as specifically white men. But I lump it all together because white women are so closely behind white men at this point when it comes to, being unregulated. I mean, we just had Donna come up in here after this great conversation. Lost.
I said, why can't I go live? What?
Right, like it's completely like no boundaries, and that's the problem right there. Is that like white people lack boundaries? They lack respect. They lack the ability to, we not they, but like we as white people, we lack that ability to, be uncomfortable. We saw it even a little bit yesterday with a guest who just did not want to be uncomfortable, and then decided that I was going to get the earful later, to tell me what kind of white person.
Did she do that?
Oh, shit! I got the whole thing. I got the
send that to me.
Yeah, well, I get a lot of those, and I don't. I just usually don't. So, but I think that Swan, of course, you're always right, but white people lack the ability to see humanity in others, and it comes from such a place of privilege of not having to, because they're only worried about ourselves. But more so, somebody said even yesterday, and I'm almost positive it was Lady P. And
Lady P was cooking.
Lady P's amazing. But they said that if white people focused on building white people up, then they would everyone would be raised up. And there were people that immediately were like, no, that's wrong. And of course my people, but I think that's genuinely that's such an important thing for white people to learn.
Okay.
So it's It's double night t-shirt time. So
It is. It is. It is.
Can I get
Yeah,
off
my
the
mind like rambles sometimes, and it's kind of
position?
rambling right now.
Okay, well, put it in a text.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Ready, Kay?
All right. Good night.
No. Ready?
Oh, okay.
Smooth jazz.
Twice emotional
Guys, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for being here throughout this week. It's been a lot of fun, right, Kay?
Well, fun.
All right, yeah. It has been absolutely amazing. There's more, right? I mean, the thing is, we are setting the foundation. There's a lot more coming. We have like a month. It's conversations that we're having, and we're trying to set the foundation so we can actually build up and be able to continue to have these conversations. So, with that being said, make sure you come back next week. We'll dig into it more. I'm going to be doing a couple of things tomorrow since it is Juneteenth. So be on the lookout for me. I will be in a lot of different spaces and places, and even my own. So make sure you're doing that. I have a massive announcement tomorrow. It's going to be really great. So lock in. And with that being said, guys, thank you for all the likes, the taps, the shares. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. And Kay, come off mute so you can say it with me as always. Peace. Did you say it?
I did. Also, I'm in the future.